So I gotta tell you guys about an unusual artifact I've come into possession of.
Is it
Um,
cursed?
Potentially. That's
Okay,
not
good. Now I'm interested.
that's not the point. So my dad and my stepmom took a little trip to Spain the other week. They recently returned. They wanted to drop off some gifts for us. And while they were on the trip, I got a text, and it was like a little wall. She was like, and my stepmom was like, "So I bet you're gonna want one of these. Which one? Which one?" It's a little shelf of like little clay figures of different characters. You had like superheroes and Dragon Ball characters, and Looney Tunes characters made out of like a little like clay figure. And I was like, yeah, I'm all about that. And I singled out Arale from Dr. Slump, which is my favorite manga. And I said, this character, please. And my folks brought it back. They brought it back to me. And now I was looking at the shelf. The picture of the shelf was from the front, of course. The full profile of the statue of Arale and all of those statues as themed to the store, this was a surprise to me upon unwrapping, is that these are statues that depict all of these characters taking a shit.
Oh my god. And they were like, Tommy would love this.
Well, I think they knew I would be drawn to the characters, and since I couldn't see the shitting, because it was just, like, it's like they look normal from the front, they're kind of squatting, then you turn it around, their pants are down, there's a little poop.
That is disgusting.
So they brought you some skibbity figures.
Yeah. So, there's actually cultural relevance to this. I can't remember the name, but a man defecating is a traditional fixture of Spanish. What's the word? What's it called? Nativity. Sorry, I forgot what the word for fucking nativity was.
Tommy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real with you. I'm pretty sure that's something like a local told your folks to fuck with them.
No, they had like a little pamphlet. It was like wrapped, and there was like a little informational thing with it. Like, and it said
they were fucking with them.
They said that the statue of a little man defecating is meant to symbolize the fertilization of the land and presumably the birth of Jesus.
Okay, that's like something I would make up to like trick a 5th grader.
Real Spanish people are going to hear this podcast, and they're going to be really mad that you're saying this about their significant cultural symbol. I'll say.
Well, you know what? Lo siento.
Lo siento.
But I haven't gotten to the best part, is that one of Arale's idiosyncrasies, I don't think either of you are intimately familiar with the character, is that kind of the gag of the character is she's this highly advanced robot with powers and strength. She's got the mind of, like, a stupid child. So she's kind of obsessed with just, like, finding animal shit on the street and poking it. So really, it's, like, the most thematically intertwined cultural symbol I could ever have, like, by any chance picked.
How much did your folks pay for this?
I don't see a tag on here, and I didn't make it my business to ask. I can't imagine it was, like, outrageous.
I don't think they asked either. They just like saw a charge later for like $80 and was that's reasonable for a little anime girl taking a shit.
What did a banana cost? $10.
$10.
You guys fucking act like my dad is like Mr. Burns, I swear to God.
Is he not?
I hope he doesn't listen to that. And what was it recently? They did they did on this same excursion where we met up and they gave me the statue. They surprised me with smart TV.
Really?
So, because I posted pictures of my new apartment to social media because I was proud of how I decorated it. And apparently my dad just came home one day and my stepmom was like, I got Tommy a new TV. I was bothered by how small his current one is. So I got a smart TV out of it.
Oh my god.
Good for you.
They were on sale, and it was very kind of them.
Only $900 for my little boy.
Now, what I like about the smart TV is that you can put in an album of pictures that it'll like slideshow through in ambient mode. So I just put in pictures I really like and like to be reminded of, and those just kind of are coasting through as we record the podcast. Right now it's Planet Hollywood, A moment ago, it was Rose Byrne. A moment ago, it was the poster for Mortal Kombat. Now it's Bucky's.
Huh.
Yeah, it's real nifty. It's a nice little ambient mode. There's Haley Steinfeld.
Oh my god.
Whoa, what's the big deal?
You really live a lifestyle of like a fucking Dungeons and Dragons character.
What do you, or like someone who plays it? What do you mean a character?
No, like a character, like only the type of person that you would make up in like a campaign or something to be like, my character's parents went to Spain and brought him a figure of an anime girl taking a shit and a smart TV on which he displays the Bucky's logo and a celebrity he wants to have sex with.
And my metamorphosis into like Bubble Bass is a bit startling. There's F-Zero. Rev up those fryers and fill those champagne glasses to the tippy top. It's West Coast Toast and Roast with Tommy, Will, and Dav. Welcome back.
F-Zero.
Welcome back to West Coast Toast and Roast. I am the heel, opulent nerd character in every D&D game. It's karma balancing out for my anemic teacher paychecks. It's me, Tommy.
And I don't have anything that long or in-depth planned. So I like the color blue, and I'm Will.
You did get an NDA lifted to rattle off a very illustrious voice acting role today. You could have mentioned that. It made me seem less, a little less of a silver spoon, Could have taken some of the heat off me.
Yeah. But I didn't.
Damn.
I'll show you silver spoons. Today when I went to King Soopers to get myself a wrap for lunch, I was turning around into the produce section and I almost slipped on a little fruit that was on the floor. And I looked around and nobody was really looking at me, but there was a guy stocking the produce nearby and I don't think he noticed that I slipped and almost fell, so I just kept walking. But it would have been really cool if I slipped and got a concussion and I could have gotten a good lawsuit out of it. But I did later see that he was getting yelled at by some other guy to clean it up, and he came by with a paper towel and cleaned it up. Also, my salary is pretty good, but it's offset by the price of insulin because I have diabetes, and I'm Dav.
See, Dav, for all the jabs you take at me, my dad and stepmom are very generous, and so is my biological mother, and they like to spoil me from time to time, but I could never consider just, going to King Soopers for a wrap, maybe for a treat. That's a treat for me. But I have to make, a loaf of bread and some egg salad last, 10 lunches at least on a teacher salary. So
you can't afford a $5 wrap for lunch?
$5. I guess I would probably. I guess a wrap isn't so bad. $5 a day for a whole week. That's about $20. No, $25 a week. $100 a month. No, I'm not taking that. No. I have movies to see.
I guess I have been kind of, conservative with it lately because there are time periods where I go 2 months eating out every single day with my coworkers, and it's $20 per lunch.
I would much rather blow $30 on a burger and a ton of sides than at a nice place than have King Super lunch now and then.
See, okay, for all the people in the Striker Star audience, can you YouTube poop what Dab just said? So he's like, yeah, usually I go and eat out my coworkers.
Mr. Krabs eats out his daughter! I'm really happy with how, weirdly mainstream YouTube poop has become. I think we figured out we're the generation with a collective nostalgia for, the sky had a Ouija. and I didn't think anyone else had actually seen those. So every now and then I'll see a tweet that says, like, what game has chicken and Winnigish gameplay? And I'm like, this guy gets it.
Yeah, but I feel like modern humor has ruined my attention span for older YouTube poops, because even those just have, like, really long stretches without any jokes, and I can't stand
Right.
it. So I gotta watch something like Better Call Finger, or I'm just gonna fall asleep.
Well, there is when Will's like, time to watch The Shrekkening, and it's like torture.
To be fair, the big reason I wanted you to watch that is because you said it was too loud, and I thought it would be funny to make you watch something that was too loud.
So first the Spain comment, and now you're saying this to your friend who makes videos about having autism? Wow. Wow. Fucking...
I like to mouth.
Somebody once told me the world was gonna... Alright. It's time for Trailer Life or Death before I fucking forget again. Watch 3 new trailers. And I feel like, you know, as someone whose favorite hobby is writing down movies and shows and games he's liked and compiling them into videos, I've felt like weirdly stressed lately because simultaneously nothing has been coming out, but now NDAs and strikes are lifting and everything is just fucking like pouring out. So I put like 3 kind of weird things to start off with because I'm sure we'll have plenty to discuss later. Alexander Payne's The Holdovers is a film that premiered at TIFF in the past couple weeks and is coming to theaters wide this winter. It stars Paul Giamatti as a college professor tasked with watching over the holdovers, who are students with nowhere to go for Christmas break. So he's kind of stuck there with them at the college, and, you know, hijinks ensue. It looks very 70s, and maybe, just maybe, they learn a little something. What'd you guys think of this one?
See, I was like, oh man, this is really funny. Like, the beginning of the trailer was like, oh, this is gonna be like, this is a cool idea. This is gonna be a blast. And then there's a moment that's like, among the like bungling music where he's like, I wish your dad picked you up, and he was like, my dad's dead. And then it fucking, like, the music turns and it gets all sad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a death, not because I think it looks bad, but just because it is so profoundly not my type of movie that I don't think I'd have any reason to see it.
Really?
Yeah, it's just...
You don't like a goofy horn dog comedy with Paul Giamatti?
I mean, I don't know, just like after... Like, I would be down if it was just kind of like unapologetically goofy, but I'm not sure about like a kind of funny, sad movie about people who have been abandoned by their parents.
I see. I thought you might be drawn in, because it does just feel very 70s, kind of, almost kind of National Lampoonish to me. I thought you might be drawn in by that, but I can see why the tonal whiplash might be a bit much.
I'll give it a life, because I like Mal Giapatti, and I hope he gets his dick sucked in this movie. That'd be funny.
By one of his students?
No, by, he could get his dick sucked by, what's her name, Mary. And then his eyes will pop out of his head.
He does have the eyes down. That's like, I fucking hate the waiting period of Letterboxd just not having an actual poster for something, so it's like a weird production image, and all we have from this is Paul Giamatti looking in 2 different directions.
It's like, I'm getting my dick sucked. I'm the Rhino from The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I've been told a lot that I kind of look like Paul Giamatti.
I think if you did a little bit more cocaine, you would.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this life as well. It's got, like, Oscar buzz around it, but what I'm more interested in is that, like, I just like a cozy Christmas movie, and I could imagine it's like a a Sunday morning in November, and I go to the Alamo Draft House and get their bottomless coffee, and it's fucking freezing to get there, but I'm cozy, and I'm watching The Holdovers. And it's like, yeah, like, everything's just fine. Like I have this.
I'll probably be there too, and I'll be like munching down on my fried pickles and just yelling at you.
Why are we watching the Holdovers when we could be getting some bitches?
Just why did you bring me to this? This is worse than linoleum.
Trailer number 2 was our obligatory video game trailer. It was for Popucom, which is like a weird take on like Bubble Bobble, I guess. Or no, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing. Game where you shoot out the bubbles, and when they the colors match, it's like they all disappear, and they recontextualize it into like a Splatoon ass shooter. And picking a video game trailer for these is always really challenging, because like I'll get 50 trailers on my feed a day that just look like mush. So I don't know if this game will ever really like exist in a way of speaking. It looked like vaguely Sega-ish. I have to admit, like Bubble Bobble in that fashion is kind of one of my favorite like iPhone games that every carrier has a knockoff version of that's just super addicting. So I kind of like what they seem to be doing with like platformizing it. What'd you guys make of this trailer?
Just like the gameplay being unique, I think everything else about it kind of just looks like bland as fuck. The levels seem very like uninspired. It just looks somehow, even though this is like the first of its genre, it looks like a knockoff of something. I give this one another death.
It gets like big Splatoon vibes.
It's very, very, very much inspired by Splatoon. Like the character models are pretty much the exact same proportions as like a Splatoon character, and the world looks like the hub world from Splatoon 3, like pretty much 1-to-1. So I don't know. It looks like it could be an interesting concept. There were a few neat uses of the mechanics in the trailer, but yeah, it didn't really grab me, so I'll give it a death.
All right. I'm gonna put it on life support and be the solo life. I don't think it's gonna be like GOATY. Like I said, I don't even know when it's supposed to come out or what'll come of it. But it's like you got a big snake that you have to shoot the right bubbles at, and like locks that move in response to certain colors. So I'll honestly give it life. I'm a little interested. I'll see. I kind of see it. I also get like maybe just because like the Sega of some of the aesthetics, I'm almost like getting a weird Balan Wonderworld stench off of it. I could see it kind of going ass up, but I'll keep my eye on it. I'll give it a chance. And last one, I put in this trailer entirely because I know we just needed like some outlet shit on this. Maybe the easiest death we've ever done, even though I've said that before. I put in the trailer for Squid Game The Challenge, the reality show reenactment of Squid Game, which is maybe one of the most tone-deaf fucking things in existence.
Yeah.
This is like you mentioned, a very easy death. It's just like borderline offensive.
Yeah.
Like I just can't believe that anyone would be like, oh man, the fucking show about poor people who are literally willing to die rather than, you know, give up their chance at a little bit of money. We should make that a real thing.
It's like Squid Game's only tense because people are fucking dying. Otherwise, they're just like playing hopscotch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much. It's like somehow worse than the Mr. Beast version of this.
Ugh.
But Squid Game was like honestly, I thought it was a really great show. I didn't think it needed anything more than just that first season. I don't think it needs even a second season, let alone all these game shows and shit. But it is kind of just nasty how people, like rich people, have basically looked at this property about like what you said, Will, like poor people putting their lives on the line to have a chance at making some money, and it's like rich people see that as a challenge. Like, how can we make this the most capitalist adjacent property that Netflix has ever produced?
Right.
And we've already heard there was apparently some behind the scenes stuff on this particular game show that caused some issues with the production.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I guess from what I heard, at least, I think people may have actually been injured from the show
Yeah!
to some extent.
Squid Game is real!
So, this is like something that would be on fucking interdimensional cable in an episode of Rick and Morty, just like Squid Game, but it's real.
But we don't actually die, right? Bam!
Yeah.
So, and like, there's something very sobering about seeing all the contestants fill in, and one of them is just like a bald white guy in his 40s who's like, whoa!
He's like,
yeah,
oh,
look at
no
me."
way, this is awesome!
Yeah. There's like all the contestants filling in, and the big like red light, green light doll is there. It's like, so what the fuck is gonna happen?
We're gonna get shot with paintballs or something.
Oh yeah, it's gonna.
But it's a good question because, like, you know, the point was that the technology was so advanced it could easily pick out who was moving, and we don't really have anything like that. So it's just gonna be people like, I think I saw that guy move.
Wait, hold up, and like in real life, I'm sure it's like a red light. Okay, hold the post for like 5 minutes. We get them, get them, and you'll never see that in the actual show. Like it'll look real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God damn it! I thought it would look fucking real.
Also, another thing is, like, one of the interesting parts of Squid Game was that nobody knew what the games were when they went into it. So now that probably all the contestants have seen the show,
They're gonna know that, like, oh, this is the one where you walk across the glass, except when you fall on a sofa.
Well, and I made a post mentioning that, like, if you want a life or death, like, risk reality show, go on the Eric Andre show, because there's a non-zero chance. He'll be like,
Get mauled by a
grizzly
bear.
grizzly bear. No longer a fan of this bit. Alright, so that's, like, maybe the most unanimous death there's ever been.
Yeah.
Fatality. There we go. Alright. Let's get us started, Will. What's your first top of the day?
Speaking of fatalities, I'm going to toast Mortal Kombat 1.
Dav, I'm really sorry. This is the chunk of the podcast where Will and I are just going to be, like, annoying for 20 minutes.
That's fair. I like Johnny Cage. That's my input.
Hell
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Johnny Cage, I think, is probably my favorite Mortal Kombat character at the moment. So here's the thing. I wasn't crazy about, like, Mortal Kombat X or 11's story. And, like, more so 11. Especially kind of the way it ended in, like, that weird way. The game's been out, so I don't feel bad spoiling it, where, like, Liu Kang resets the timeline. I thought it was, like, just gonna be not very good. But I'm happy to say that it is very good. So, first of all, story-wise, I think the best part of the story is that there are no fucking special forces.
You don't have me. Well, you don't have me on. I'll just have you know that Johnny Cage is. Many people would consider him a special forces character. Your precious fucking movie reference guy.
He's worked with the special forces, but
he's blatantly part of it in X and 11.
Yeah, but not in this one. In this one, he's fucking bros with Kenshi.
Yeah.
It is cool just, like, kind of exploring the realms in the story. Also, they take some of the, like, most, stereotypically useless Mortal Kombat characters, like Reptile and Baraka, and actually make them really cool. Like, Reptile and Baraka in this aren't just like, rah, we're monsters, but Reptile's like, yeah, I was ostracized from my clan because I could shapeshift into human form and they think I'm a fucking freak. And Baraka's like, yeah, I am dying of this disease that will eventually, like, take my mind and soul, so you should kill me before that happens. And it's like, that's so much better than just like, here's chop chop.
Well, and like my input's always been I've never had all that ire. Felt like some characters are gonna be minor, and I've always felt those characters were like well defined in their jobs as like henchmen. Like they still got the job done. And when it was initially like, oh, you're gonna feel sorry for Baraka, I was kind of like, oh, give me a fucking break, wah wah. But they actually do really like pull it off pretty well.
Everybody do the chop chop.
I also like how, like, it is a very kind of, like, diverse roster. Like, you know, you've got the classics, but then a lot of, like, fan-favorite 3D era characters are coming back. And, like, there are stuff... first of all, one of the things I like in this story is, like, in X and 11, if a character was, like, a jobber, they were a jobber. They, got beaten in a story fight, and that was it. Like, there was a scene of, like, Aaron Black in 11 where he's just, like, shooting guns at Sonya, and they're all missing. And he's, like, point blank. But in this, minus, I'd say, Havoc and, there was another one.
Well, it's like, sorry.
I was gonna say, minus Havoc and Natara, I would say everyone, even if it's just in, like, a cutscene, gets a chance to be cool.
I'd say Rain and Reiko also got shafted pretty bad.
Rain, yes. Reiko, I wouldn't say, because he got to kick some ass with, like, the Lee May chapter. At least in the
yeah, true. I do like... People are saying he doesn't get the development they're hoping. I kind of like how just, like, he's the ultimate evil dick rider. Like... I think he has an opening animation where he picks up a pile of dirt and smells it as if that helps him fucking strategize. Like, you're so full of it, but I love that about you.
Yeah. And like, honestly, most of the characters I do honestly prefer to their original timeline self. I don't prefer the new Raiden and Scorpion, but like, I thought I was gonna hate them, but I actually do kind of like them. I think this is easily the best starting roster of any Mortal Kombat, just because it is so, like, diverse in the fact that it, like, pulls from basically every game. And, you know, on top of that, like, characters get, like, Johnny Cage gets incredible development, so does Kenshi. Pretty much everyone who's, like, a playable character does. And also, Johnny Cage and Kenshi have always been, like, two of my favorite characters, and the fact that they're, like, Johnny Cage calls Kenshi his, like, because Johnny Cage can be the announcer for the game, right?
Yeah.
And he says, like, nicknames for people. For Kenshi, one of the nicknames he will call him is just best friend, and I'm like, that's so fucking sweet.
So, I love when you pick Shang Tsung with the Johnny Cage announcer, and he's just like, oh, this fucking guy.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the story's great, and the character dynamics are really cool. I'd like to shift into the gameplay a bit, because I also think it's the best Mortal Kombat's ever been.
Really?
Yeah. Because I think the big thing I hated about 11 is that there were, like, the combos were so short because you needed meter for everything. There were no meterless combo starters. Like,
and the characters took up, like... I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk over you.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say, like, if you do Scorpion's Chain in Mortal Kombat 11, in every other game, it, like, makes you dizzy, so Scorpion can follow up with a move. Yeah. But in Mortal Kombat 11, it, like, knocked you down, so you had to meter burn it, which you only got 2 bars to do, like, a fucking 5-hit combo.
Right.
Now, what were you saying?
Well, I was gonna say in 11, the characters took up, like, so much fucking real estate. Like, they were so much bigger than they were in X and in 1, that it just felt like you were, like, moving a huge fucking JPEG across the screen. They were so stiff and gigantic.
Yeah. Like, you know, it does still have some stiffness in it, but I think what they did with each character, for the most part, I kind of hate what they did with Rain. What they like revamped basically everyone's moveset. And it's awesome. So, like, from a gameplay standpoint, most characters keep, like, their, you know, signature moves, like Johnny's got the Knuck Punch and the Shadow Kick, but then he can also, like, hold those buttons to build up a star meter that lets you cancel specials into specials. Kenshi's got his usual, like, you know, push and demon drop. but then he can also, like, summon a stand to, like, attack with you, and those combos are really fun. And then on top of that, this feels like a very combos-based game, which I really like, because I enjoy learning combos. On top of that, the cameos are a really good idea.
I never thought, like, an assist mechanic would be such a great defining feature, but I fucking love cameos.
Yeah. No, and it's like, okay, I am 110% fine with Frost not being playable. Like, I feel like if she was playable in this, it would be a character where I was like, okay, I don't like that. But the fact that she's like, you know, she's got her, you know, famous moves, and you can bring her out anytime. Like, it doesn't feel like an assist trophy in Smash Bros. Where it's, like, completely shafted, you know?
They get their own win pose, their own fatality, like...
Their own brutalities.
Yeah, to the point that, like, Mavado is confirmed as a cameo, and he's, like, a weird deep cut I really like, and I'm, like, just as excited, almost, if he was just, like, fully playable.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The cameos are really cool. And I like that they are very classic. Like,
oh, yeah.
There's no, like, you know, Sector doesn't have a new move. Like, he's got his missiles, got his flamethrower, like, he's got what he's known for. And I feel like because cameos work so well with characters, I feel like that's the difference between assist trophies.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, you're never gonna see assist trophies, but they deconfirm playable characters. Like, cameos, for up until now, we do know that they, like, deconfirm playable characters, unless they're revealed, like, second, like with Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Kung Lao. But at the same time, it feels like a lot of respect is given to them, you know?
It turned, like, Shujinko, who I at one time would be like, I don't fucking give a shit about that guy, into, like, one of the coldest motherfuckers in the game. His fatality's a fucking Kill Bill reference, like, shot for shot.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, kind of to your point, that it is kind of like, no one's ever, like, strategizing, like, oh, fucking Bowser with the Waluigi assist trophy really wrecks out. But there's genuine strategy into thinking about, like, what cameo goes best with the character I'm playing as.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like cameos are very well put in, and they really enforce the idea of, you know, you can do very good combos in this game for very little meter, but it's not like, oh, you do 100% with no meter.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's still damage scaling and stuff, but, like, it's more fun. Like, I like not having to meter burn every move to, like, pop them up for 2 hits.
And
the air combat's great.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, and you know, it's very accessible. Like, you know me, I'm not a big, like, combo-oriented fighting game player. I'm more, like, I like to just figure out what weird shit I can do with special moves and kind of get in and get out. But, like, I've, like, almost just stumbled into really good, like, Sub-Zero combos. They don't make it that hard to do. And like you were saying, like, there's some characters who just, like, if you get them in the air, like Tanya and Smoke, you can really just pull off some shit where it's like, oh, wait, how the fuck did I do that? And that, I think, is how you get good at fighting games, is by kind of tripping into something impressive and trying to recreate that.
Yeah, no, I think, and, like, there are some glitches. Like, I know there was a weird glitch that, like, gave player 1 priority on most moves.
Yeah.
And,
there was a patch, I think it went out today, that fixed a lot of that.
Okay, good. But yeah, I just think it's kind of, like, the perfect combination of, like, 3D and 2D Mortal Kombat. Not just with the characters, but, like, with the fact that, you know, there's long, crazy combos, you know? You can go in the air and, like, you know, hit them 3 times, and then do a cameo and hit them more. Like, I think it's probably the best I felt about a fighting game in a while. Like,
Nice.
you know, you listening at home, you guys know me. I am, like, everyone was hyped about Street Fighter 6. I was like, give me a break. I'm excited for Tekken 8, but obviously I had to wait for that to come out. But Mortal Kombat 1, I was like, I picked up Kenshi, and I was like, this is perfect. I'm good. Whereas, like, even the characters that I really wanted to try in Street Fighter 6, like JP, I picked him up and I was like, okay, yeah, this is fine. But, like, I feel like almost every character in this game I pick up and I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do some fucking combos.
Totally. Gosh, I don't want to turn this into like the combat cast, if you will. I just want to like, you were saying like I didn't care much. You were saying you didn't care much for X or 11, whereas like
Oh,
the most. Sorry.
So I will say I didn't. I think X was very good gameplay wise. The stories, and I don't think the story in X was bad. 11, I do think it was bad. But like it just it wasn't.
Just say
for
you
me.
hate the combat kids and don't spare my feelings.
I like Takeda.
No, the combat kids are good, actually. So, but I was like the opposite of you in that Mortal Kombat X is my favorite game ever. And Mortal Kombat 11 is like the most narratively insulting thing I can fathom. And also a step down in gameplay. So I had a little more skin in the game. It was just like so frustrating, like, why did the world get destroyed after just like 2 installments? Why the fuck is the only survivor Liu Kang when I honestly think he's such a fucking tool in this continuity? Like, I was just not fucking happy about how that game went. It's like, I think every nerd is allowed to have like one thing they're obnoxious about that nobody else actually cares about. And if Mortal Kombat came up at a party, I would just like ruin it because I'd be like, no. My praise of MK1 is that the story straight up fixes everything. Like,
yeah, I think it's an incredibly like fresh take on like, because it does do like some time travel shenanigans, but there are moments of like just in-universe stuff, like when Shang Tsung and Quan Chi are plotting.
I've always been a fucking fan of Shang Tsung. He's, I think, maybe the superstar of this game. I loved him here.
See, I think, as much as I didn't like 11, I will say that kind of, like, set the bar for Shang Tsung for me. I will say I do love him in this game, but, like, Carrie.
There's no replacing Carrie. I don't disagree, but, like, the fucking snake fatality? Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, no, that's awesome.
And, like, do we care? The cat's out of the bag on spoilers, right?
Yeah.
So, and I guess my big problem with 11 is that it just seemed very cut and dry with like, all right, they're all gone, and Liu Kang's gonna build us a new universe. Everyone, if you liked them, sorry, they're gone. But this establishes that it's not just Liu Kang. It's that killing Kronika, who we're glad is dead because she is Satan, kind of splintered off time into every possible direction, meaning the multiverse is as such that every character basically won MK11, and Liu Kang is just from our point of view. And, like, I gotta describe that, and I don't mean this pointedly, Will, that being around the Mortal Kombat fandom who hates the combat kids and hates the special forces and will take and, like, hearing Liu Kang verify that there's another timeline, even if we don't get to see it, where Cassie Cage is God, and nothing changes that, was just, like, what I needed to hear to feel like welcome into this series again, because I just felt so like pushed around just because I was taken in by MKX, and I'm sure I sound maybe the most invested in fucking Mortal Kombat anyone ever has been, but it's just what the story needed to do to win me back, and with that kind of in the rear view, I was able to appreciate the new timeline, the new characters, kind of in their own right.
Yeah, yeah, I think overall, both gameplay-wise and story-wise, I am extremely content. I'm looking forward to the first combat pack. I think those are 3 great characters to add. Really excited for... Honestly, I think I might be excited for Omni-Man the best.
He's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, I'm not going to be excited about Homelander until Anthony Starr is playing him, because, like, fucking... Oh, I am pretending to do an Arnold Schwarzenegger impression, and MK11 ruined it for me.
I guess the one last thing I want to say of this game's story is fucking insane.
Oh, yeah.
Is, because of all the timeline shenanigans, timelines open up, and we've been very open about, like, kind of being grumpy about multiverse shit lately. But I think maybe one of the funnest ways you can do it is instead of a boring ass Illuminati, you have like weird mishmashes of every possible character. So just like they make a fucking Black Dragon Sonya with Kano's bionic eye, and fucking there's like a Johnny Cage Tarkatan called Hollyweird. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, no, I hope they just like keep rolling with this. I think it's awesome. I'm a really big fan.
You said you're maining Kenshi?
Yeah, right now.
He's really good.
Yeah, I've noticed that like, because I'm trying to like, I don't want to spread. I want to get good. So I'm trying Kenshi because I'm like, okay, he's got a sword, which obviously I look for, and meterless combo starters, and just looks cool. Though I did have a lot of fun with Baraka and Reptile too. Johnny Cage, I love playing, but I'm gonna hold off on him because with his like star meter, he is very technical.
Yeah, it takes a little getting into. I'm kind of all in on Shang Tsung, Li Mei, and Sub-Zero.
Oh yeah, Li Mei, and I like Sub-Zero. I have played Shang Tsung. The switching does like get a bit much for me.
It can be a little overwhelming, yeah, because you do have to prioritize what kind of projectile you need, what form he needs to be in.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, even if a character isn't for me, I can be like, oh, this is like pretty much the best this character's ever be, except for people like Rain, and unfortunately, voice-wise, Natara.
Good thing this is the last time we'll mention Megan Fox on this podcast, particular episode. Wink.
Tommy, spoilers!
It's not a spoiler, dumbass. It's a fusion of Johnny Cage and Shao Kahn, literally called John Connor, in the final chapter of Mortal Kombat 1.
Okay, well that is a spoiler, so you gotta say...
It's a spoiler, and I'm a dumbass.
And you better not fucking cut that out. Anyways.
Alright. I'm reaching for a switch that says gibberish, and I'm gonna turn it off so Dav can have the floor for a little bit.
Yeah,
if you're okay with that, Will, because I think we've done plenty of Mortal Kombat talk.
Yeah, I think that's good. Big fan of MK1. Davey, you're up.
Hatsune Miku being paired up with Sirfetch'd for the fighting type artwork just works perfectly. I mean, she's got leeks for hair.
Right, so I guess that's Dav's turn. Tommy, you wanna...
No. Okay. Let's start off with another look at yet another Spider-Man property. I think after enough time we'll have looked at every single Spider-Man related thing ever created. This time around, though, I'm specifically going to roast Spider-Man, the City That Never Sleeps. Which is the DLC for Spider-Man PlayStation 4, or in this case, the remastered, that I played on the PS5. Here's the thing. For the most part, this DLC is basically just more of the original game in terms of gameplay. You still basically got the open world. You got your side missions. You got your superhero shenanigans. It's what you're used to. But this time around, it's really just a story that honestly is not at all important to the greater story being told, I don't think. I think 2 is not going to really call back to this too much. This seems mostly like it's just kind of an excuse to get Black Cat and Wraith into the main story in some way.
I endorse one of those.
Well, good for you. Unfortunately, I think if you actually played through this, you wouldn't really like how it's done.
Is Black Cat Erica Lindbeck in this one?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not putting me off.
Okay, so here's the thing. This DLC is about 5 years old now, so there's gonna be spoilers. Just a warning.
We're fine. We're fine.
It's 3 chapters. I think the first one is the most okay. I think I gave it a solid 7. It's pretty good. At least, like, on its own, it's pretty good. When you pair it up with everything else, it gets a little exhausting. But here's the thing. What this DLC introduces is the idea of Black Cat being an actual present character, because in the original game, she just was kind of on the radio. But in this one, she's there. She's present. You get some neat little chase missions that are very similar to the Black Cat chase missions from Spider-Man 2 on like the movie game, which I always enjoyed. And you get a really weird story where it seems like she's kind of helping this crime family. So there's a whole lot of obvious red herrings and stuff, and it's honestly a very predictable story with the way it goes. She lies about having a son to throw off Peter and make him think that he's like a father.
Wow. Well, that would require... You could pull that on maybe a Tony Stark, but is Peter, like, going around laying down that much pipe that it's like there's any chance that'd be plausible?
Well, yeah,
So.
he mentions that they shot some webs together, if you know what I'm saying. So
I don't doubt that, but that just seems like... Does he fall for it? Like...
He does
yeah.
for like most of the story, yeah.
What the
Until she admits that she lied about it.
Alright.
But the way the story wraps up, because there's really nothing else too important about the whole thing except for the fact that I do want to set up the idea of the screwball challenges that are in these DLCs. They are just like 5 of the most obnoxious... 5 or 6, I don't remember specifically how many, but it's a few of just the most obnoxious challenges that you're asked to do. And I thought that they were only going to be in the first part. But as I later found out, they were not. But basically, the way this first part of the story ends is Black Cat runs into her penthouse. For some reason, she just has this massive rooftop penthouse in the middle of Manhattan, and it blows up because the main crime family wanted to get back at her for stealing from them. And it is presented in the way that is like, it's extremely obvious that it's just a fake out death. Because she just like smiles and then walks in the door and it explodes, and it's pretty funny. But you know what? It's pretty inoffensive, so it's whatever. It ends like that, and then you start the next part, and it's honestly a really fucking funny start. Because I think the second one, Turf Wars, is my least favorite of the 3. The way this starts is you're closing in on Hammerhead, and you're doing this mission with the police and Yuri, who was in the main story. And Hammerhead, firstly, before you enter the building with Hammerhead in it, one of the cops shows that he has like a watch with Spider-Man on it, and he's like, "I'm a big fan. My daughter got me this watch with your face on it. We're big fans of you." And it's like to endear you to this no-name random cop, and then you go into the building.
I love being alive.
I'm gonna go home to my daughter and tell her I was on a mission with you, and he gets like shot in the head.
And I'm only 1 day away from retirement.
Did the Spider-Man watch, were the arms of the watch like Peter's arms? Like
I don't remember. Probably.
That's like my favorite watch design in the world, is when it's like a character and their arms are pointing.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. But anyway, this apparently what this seems to be implying, because Yuri has a horrible reaction to this and like all of her cops getting killed. This seems to imply that this is the first time this has happened, which if you've played this story of the original game, there's no fucking way that like dozens of New York cops weren't massacred already before this, but whatever. So Yuri goes all emo mode and is just like, I'm gonna kill him! I'm gonna find him and I'm gonna kill him! And Spider-Man is all like, we don't do that, Yuri. You can't do that. You're a New York City cop. New York City cops don't kill people. and, and later, at the end of the story, after going through another dozen or so fucking screwball challenges, which somehow get worse with every single DLC. They just get more and more obnoxious, especially if you're going for completion. You're gonna have a really bad time. Like, you can ignore them, but I don't know. I just need those 100% for some reason. But at the end of the story, Hammerhead turns himself into a cyborg, and so he's just like a head on top of a robot body. And it's really stupid, and he looks really dumb. But you like fight him, and you like knock him over, and then Yuri shows up and shoots him in the head to kill him. And they're just like, whoa, Yuri, you just killed that guy. And she's given paid leave because that's what happens.
Yeah, very realistic.
Wait, are you joking, or does that really happen?
They just mention that she's like on leave.
Well, are they like being facetious? Like, yeah, that's what happens, or am I giving propaganda too much credit here? Like...
I think it's the latter.
I mean, this story so far is not really shied away from being like pretty pro cop.
Yeah.
And we'll get to in a little bit here why that really is. But basically, in the next story, Silver Lining, not much better than Turf Wars, but a little bit, is when Silver Sable returns, and for some reason is not immediately arrested and tried as a war criminal. But, you know, that's great. Silver Sable is back. For some reason, this random Russian woman is able to go toe-to-toe with Spider-Man. I guess their strengths are equally matched somehow, because she, like, constantly gets the jump on you during your fight with her. But Hammerhead, as it turns out, survived getting shot directly in the head because one of his little cronies, when they were in the ambulance together, took a police stun baton and pressed it up against his neck and activated it, and it brought him back to life. So that's great. So Hammerhead's back, revived by a stun baton, and you get to do some more screwball challenges. And what's nice about this one, though, is that after you almost kill yourself doing the screwball challenges, you actually catch Screwball. After chasing her across a bunch of rooftops. And keep in mind, this is just like a Twitch streamer. I don't know how...
Like, does she... When you say Screwball, I picture that she, like, throws baseballs at you.
She's just like a Twitch streamer, basically, and she just, like, sometimes she'll, like, plant bombs, or she'll send her simps after you to fight you. And you're, like, all on camera, and you don't know where she is any of the time until the very last mission, when she throws a party. And then
like,
she,
tells
like...
you where it is.
She tells you where the party is, and she hides in a box, and then when you get close to the box explodes, and she just runs out of it. And she starts jumping across all these Manhattan rooftops, and I just don't believe that a Twitch streamer would have that much energy or acrobatics or anything, but that's cool.
Who do you think is on her smart TV wallpapers?
Peppa Pig.
Yeah, Peppa Pig.
Caillou. Like, she's a big fan of children's entertainment.
Really? Do you think she has Bluey Wednesdays like us?
No, she's like a fucking shit ass. She's like, oh, Bluey is stupid because she's a fucking idiot and like deserves to get like fucking her head bitten off by Venom in the next game.
She's yeah.
I can only kind of make like heads or tails of what Screwball is, but you guys talk about her the way somebody talks about like their least favorite Animal Crossing villager. Like,
I'll
I
text
fucking
you a
hate
picture,
Bimbly
Tommy.
Bimbly so much.
I don't think there's a single person who's played this DLC who likes her. She just wears like this pink helmet and screams. Like, I think she's a nonce too. Like, I think she's a groomer.
What?
She just strikes me as the type of person who's like hitting on 15-year-olds in her Discord. It's never mentioned as something that she would do, but
Spider-Man's new nemesis is Miranda Sings, is what you're saying?
yeah, pretty much.
Topical. I think that was like 2 months ago. I don't know.
But anyway, you finally catch her, and the police take her to jail, which doesn't really mean anything in this universe. So I'm sure we'll see her again. But props to Insomniac for having a character that I just hope never shows up in any piece of media ever again. That's really good on them.
Screwball was original to the game, right?
No, she's not.
She's not?
No. She was in a few comics. She's like a recent addition because she is like, her being a streamer is like her thing. But...
if you want me to like hate a character, make them a streamer.
Yeah.
I think I'm actually going to add a picture of her to my Google TV wallpapers. I'll slide her in right here between Full Metal Alchemist and Anya Taylor-Joy wallpapers. There we go.
You really are a masochist.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Anyway, one of the very cool side missions, in my opinion, this is like the best series of side missions in all of the DLCs, is the last ones before you go to the finale. You find like this tape recorder, because these games love tape recorders. Everybody's always recording whatever they say. Everyone's
either streaming the entire city of New York on Switch or leaving tape recorders lying around.
Yeah, just like out of context, them explaining their plans for whatever reason.
I have the Kingpin's blueprints on this floppy disk.
But you find this recorder, and it's like around a bunch of like police tape, and you like listen to it, and it's just like this guy who seems to be like talking to a therapist, and it's actually like pretty subtle, and it's not really it's an actual mystery. Like, it makes you curious about where it's going to go, and you kind of go around the city finding all these different recorders that are all around police tape, and Spider-Man kind of says like, oh, this is where this one witness to this crime was murdered, or they were found dead here. And you later find out that basically the therapist is an undercover cop that Yuri hired to kind of entrap the guy who's at the therapy, because he's like a hitman, basically, who has killed most of these witnesses. And the plan was to kind of entrap him, but then the hitman finds out, like, the therapist is a cop and kills him. So you go to like the very final spot that you're led to, and you find the hitman's like brutalized body on top of a rooftop. And Yuri calls you and is just like, the police don't do enough. This is what I needed to do. And you'd like, it's like, oh, that's a very interesting place for her character to go, actually. I kind of like this. And Spider-Man hangs up and is just like, killing is wrong, we have to take her down. And that's the end of it, and that's like the setup for...
must die.
Yeah. That's the setup for Wraith, I guess, in Spider-Man 2, because they show in the trailer that there's going to be like Wraith missions, so that's neat.
Is Wraith here? Is that like the identity there?
Yeah, she's some type of vigilante now, I guess, which, very cool direction for the character, but I think putting it in the DLC was a mistake, because I don't think a lot of people played this. But then you do the finale. Go ahead, Will.
I was just gonna say, like, I hate to say it, but like for a bit of good reason, because like Spider-Man PS4 was the first game I dedicated myself to platinuming. I was like, I'm gonna plat this. And then I was like, okay, got the DLC, gotta plat that too. I played a screwball mission once, and I'm like, no, I'm just not doing it. It's not worth it.
You didn't even get to the stealth missions then. They ask you to do basically the stealth that you would do in like an enemy base, but she's set up a bunch of cameras that you can temporarily disable, but they cover just this giant area and you have to avoid them completely, because if you even touch their range, the mission fails and you have to start over.
Oh.
And she will scream, she'll be like, ha ha, better luck next time! And then you start over and it's just like, fuck, I got. But you get to the finale, and here's the stupid part. Remember how I said Black Cat exploded on her giant rooftop apartment?
Oh, yeah.
You start to fight Hammerhead again, and he like kind of starts to get the edge over you and Silver Sable, because you're like both taking him on. And for no reason at all, Black Cat just comes in and helps, and that's it. She's just alive, and she's back again, and nothing comes of it. She doesn't even show up in the final boss battle. She just like helps you, and then you go to the final boss battle, and you finally beat Hammerhead by firing a laser at him, and that's it. I mean, if you 100% everything, you get the Spider-Verse Spider-Man costume, which is neat. But you've already platted everything, so not really anything else to do with that costume, unfortunately. Would have been nice to get that earlier. And that's the end of a very mediocre line of DLC, and I'm just hoping Spider-Man 2 will be much better, and it looks like it will be. So, yeah, excited for that. Any more thoughts from you, Will, since you did play through these?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I thought the like base PS4 game was pretty perfect. And then I don't think I would have missed anything if I like didn't play the DLC. I thought I hate to say it, but I thought it was like kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, it honestly was. I mean, it did set up Black Cat and Furious stories, I guess. The fact that they are there and they will be in the next game, and that's about it.
Yeah, I really feel like there could have been like another way to do that that's not, hey, buy this mission about Hammerhead turning into a robot.
The cool fucking thing about Hammerhead is that he's just like a stocky gangster that can tear down a brick wall for reasons you don't fully understand. I feel like turning him into a robot is kind of a waste.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, everything's pretty techy in this universe. Anyway, heading it off to you, Tommy.
Okay. Sorry, Alexandra Daddario's turn on the Google TV, but it just shifted back to White Castle. I can focus again. All right. I saw Expendables.
Expendables.
Expendables 4, as I'm sure no one can be bothered to call it anything else.
There is some kind of Expendables.
I'm sure. I like to imagine they're like, what if we stylize the title like this, Sly? And Sylvester's like, why is the 4 in the middle? Well, see, it's kind of like it kind of looks like an A. Why does it look like an A? When you stylize it like this, it kind of does. You didn't put a 4 in the middle of Rocky. Yeah, the 4 was out here. No. So the Expendables movies are like, you get what you pay for. Like, they're at their best. Like, they're stupid, but it's Sly. You know, Sylvester Stallone. Ever since I read The Last Action Heroes, which is documenting all the history basically of the golden age of action film, I'd say Sly Stallone is like my favorite narrative and career in Hollywood. I wouldn't say like my favorite guy, because there's evidence he's maybe not always the best guy, not always the best husband, but like I find his story and history really fascinating, just like a classic rags to riches things, and I love his filmography.
Yeah. Ain't no
Yeah.
surprise in the club to see Sly Stallone. Miami, my second home.
Like he would, like Sly Stallone. He parties, I feel like, in like New York and Chicago, not Miami.
Oh yeah, I mean, did I show you that Ryan George video?
Yeah.
It would not be a surprise to see Oscar-nominated actor Sylvester Stallone in a club. You wouldn't feel anything.
So, you know, I'm happy to see him just get to direct dumb movies where he and his friends blow shit up. And, like, these movies are at their best when they cast Jean-Claude Van Damme as the villain of Expendables 2. And he's literally dressed like Albert Wesker. And his character, I think, is named, like, Benedict Villon. And he's the bad guy. Like, that's when they're at their best. So I was like, how bad could Expendables 4 be? The answer is very. It's very bad. Of the worst fucking things I've ever watched. Spoilers, who cares about Expendables 4? Spoilers, I don't think Sly wanted to be in this one that badly because he dies in the first 20 minutes.
Oh, geez.
There's like a dangerous mission and his plane blows up and Jason Statham's like, no, and he opens it up and there's like a crisp skeleton with like the beret on top, like perfectly intact.
Everything about my fireproof beret, everything else I believe.
He's getting his $1 million and he's running.
They're like, fucking, Sly, you gotta wear a flame retardant beret. What the fuck do you just call me? Nah. So it's Jason Statham. Terry Crews and Jet Li are gone. The new Dolph Lundgren is still around. He was always like the loose cannon character, and in this one they're like, oh, he kicked his drinking habit, and he's like boring now. So it's fucking lame. Yeah. 50 Cent is there instead, and he adds nothing. Randy Couture is still there, but no one likes him. And the new characters are Tony Jaa and Megan Fox. And you know, very in vogue to bash on Megan Fox because she turns in one of the worst performances ever in Mortal Kombat 1. In this, she's honestly really not bad. Like, I think she's perfectly fine on camera, and that voice acting and the intensive time that goes with it is just a very different skill that the Hollywood elite perhaps is irresponsible in taking up haphazardly. I think that's my piece on the matter. She's actually okay in this. No, you know what? I'll say this. I think this is another ingredient. Because she's Jason Statham's love interest and she's like, oh, but I also fight. When she's like saying, it's very Natara. It's, bombs are here and here, and we have to go in through the... But when she's like, just like, having chemistry in like, non-mission related moments, she like sells it pretty well. I think a mistake of casting Megan Fox is thinking she should hold a gun too, when she's genuinely good as just like Jennifer's body and like, you know, just like a person sometimes, just because she's like the hottest person alive stereotypically. So she's like okay, but she and Tony Jaa is always terrific. He's the kickboxer. I like to think he kind of popularized Muay Thai in the West with the Ong Bak movies. And he's pretty cool, but they still just don't get to add much. And, like, usually it's like you get an insane guest stars in an Expendable. It's like, in Expendables 2, the final fight scene is Schwarzenegger and Chuck Norris pull up in a car and start shooting people. And it's like, that's what you come here for. And that's what you would, like, spend your Megan Fox and Tony Jaa credits on, but it just does not pay off. They don't do anything cool with them. It's like mostly a Jason Statham movie, when he's kind of the anchor that bonds the modern action stars with the retro ones. So with Sly dead and most of the retro stars kind of out of the picture, it's just like a Jason Statham flick. And that really blows. And then you get a lot of this has like maybe some of the worst CGI I've ever seen. Like, not, like, this would make a Marvel VFX artist blush. It's like you see Tony Jaa and Statham are in a boat and their heads are like superimposed inside, like photoshopped.
See, I want to see that just out of, like, to see if it's, like, what I'm picturing in my head.
Oh my, it's hilarious. Wait for it to, like, be on streaming and, do things that I wouldn't endorse to my FBI agent listening, because don't give this shit your fucking money. I saw it with my Alamo season pass, so I didn't technically pay to see it, so my hands are clean. Man, I'm trying to, and here's the real kick in the dick. You just sat through one of the ugliest movies ever, 2 boring-ass, nondescript villains. Expendables 2, the villain is Van Damme. Expendables 3, the villain is Mel Gibson, and it turns out he's been method acting, because he's like an insane villain in it. And then Expendables 4 are just like 2 nondescript terrorist types. And it's fucking, like, they couldn't even, like, spring for, like, God, who would be next? It might, I don't know, like, Jackie Chan hasn't been in one yet. That'd be fun, I don't know. Seagal, since he's, like, the real-life villain of the action stars, we'd love to see him get blown up on screen, fictionally. All that happens, and then and then Statham's like, I gotta finish the mission. And he's back, he rushes on the boat. Another spoiler. The bomb's gonna go off. He's gotta get it out of there. He has no way out, because he's like, go, everybody go, I gotta finish this. And Megan Fox is like, I can't leave you. And he's like, go. He's got no one to save him. Who flies in? But Sly Stallone.
Oh, shit.
Fucking alive. He's like, oh yeah, I faked my death, it's fine. And he gets
Is he a skeleton?
So, what happened?
He would be sliced to bone.
Yeah. They
Oh,
should
no.
Okay, I know you're gonna say he's not a skeleton when he flies in, but he really should have been. That would have been actually funny.
The reality is arguably better. They get back to the bar, and Statham's like, well, how'd you survive that? And he's like, and, there's a character introduced earlier in the film named Jumbo Shrimp, who's just like a barfly that Sly beats up because he steals his ring. That's it. Like, not a horrid villain guy or anything. And Stallone just goes, remember Jumbo Shrimp? And you see a flashback where Sly snuck out of the plane, swapped in this poor Jumbo Shrimp guy who's not like a criminal or anything, puts his hat on him, and sends him to die a fiery death so he may fake his death.
Wait.
Yeah.
So did he like force him, or did Jumbo Shrimp like? Oh, so he was just like, you're getting in this shit whether you like it or not.
He knocked out Jumbo Shrimp and tied him out and left him in the cockpit with zero consent.
So,
oh my god.
So Sly Stallone in this movie is just as deplorable of a character as Lalo Salamanca.
Yeah. And, like, you know, he's not a conventional, like, obviously he's killed 1 billion people, but it's like, you know, in the context of a movie, it's like, they were all bad guys. The city was evacuated. It's fine. This one, he just, like, murdered a relative innocent in cold blood. It's the most insane shit I've ever seen. So, wait for Expendables 4 to have a compilation on YouTube where all the weird CGI gets uploaded. Because someone's gonna upload a video that fucking says, special effects by an actual movie. And it's like, it's getting to be my least favorite genre of recommendation is when someone uploads a video that says, dialogue written by an actual screenwriter, and it's never actually that bad. So you'll see that for Expendables 4. Expendables. I have to legally call it that. Yeah. Will, I guess it's back to you.
All right. So, I want to talk about a movie. I'm gonna toast this. That I watched like as a kid, and I rewatched recently with you guys, and just absolutely fucking loved it. The original, The Day the Earth Stood Still. I seriously think it's one of the most important movies ever made. I've read the story it's based on, and they basically have nothing in common. But, you know, a story about aliens who completely outlawed war and, like, built these robots to, like, murder them if they ever tried to do war. but also like they've built such an advanced race that like working together has really been good for them.
Right.
On top of which, like, even back in the day, it was still, like, pretty, or, like, even though it was made back in the day, it's still very relevant. Like, as soon as the alien comes off the ship, a cop shoots him.
Was it Yuri?
People are, like, constantly afraid of him because they're like, oh, he's, you know, he's not like us, he's something else and he's gonna hurt us. But, like, at its core, number one, it's a sci-fi that's, like, good sci-fi. You know, nothing is magic in this, which I really like in a sci-fi movie. Kind of hate it when it's like, oh, yeah, and, like, you know, I know Dune is important, but Dune is not for me as a sci-fi fan because
Yeah.
it's just like, oh yeah, look at this like crazy alien civilization and they have like telekinesis. Ooh. I'd much rather have stories about like, I guess, Earth or having to do with Earth. Or I guess astronauts, except for Solaris, because that was dog shit.
Well, Captain Yajima.
Yeah, Captain Yajima is pretty dope. But I just think it's like an important movie for people to see, you know? The Klaatu, who's the alien, comes down and he like kind of blends in and he like gets to see, you know, the world without like knowing about kind of the like prejudices behind it. He's like able to see it with childlike eyes, which works really well because there's like he stays at a bed and breakfast and he takes the owner's son out and like they go to the Lincoln Memorial and he's like, where can I meet a man like that? And then the kid just like looks at him. I think that's probably one of like the best moments because it's like,
oh yeah,
you're not gonna, you won't.
Nope.
Yeah, and then also the fact that, like, the effects have aged pretty well. Like, there's not a ton of effects in it, and the effects that are there are very simple. Gort, the robot, is really cool. Klaatu, Barada Nikto, which, if you don't know, that's what Klaatu tells Gort. And that's also what Ash Williams from Evil Dead says in Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
What's so terrific about Gort is that I was kind of... Just something in my brain was poisoned to kind of expect, like, the other shoe to drop with him. Like, I was like, any second now, he's just gonna start, like, killing fucking people left and right. Like, and there's a small body count, but that's not really the kind of movie this is.
Like, it goes to show, like, no one... Gort doesn't... For most of the movie, Gort just kind of stands there, and he only goes for a rampage when, like, people try to hurt him.
And so much is left to the imagination that I think it's just so effective that way.
Yeah. And, you know, spoilers for an old-ass movie. The ending where he's, like, talking to the entire human race, and he's like, guys, stop fucking fighting each other, or we will do something about it. I think is very poignant because, like, number one, it shows, like, hey, if we, you know, focus on not that, like, oh, this person is an other, and we, like, you know, put our minds together, we can achieve great things, like Gort robots that keep us from being violent. But also, at the same time, it shows that chances are people won't, like, stop fighting unless it is, like, strictly taken away from them, you know? Like, they say that they built the Gort robots to make sure that they never fight, because if they do fight, they'll get killed. And I don't know, I just think it's a very, like, poignant, like, social commentary on both, like, war and hate, and also, like, you know, the power of free will, and, like, when free will can kind of damage the society as a whole.
And, sorry, what?
Free will. Yeah, I think as a kid I was like, oh, cool robots. I like the melting people. I like this. But as an adult, I was like, man, we really could be doing so many amazing things if we didn't all fucking hate each other. Yeah. What did you guys think of it?
It was one that was kind of on my list since we went to the Academy Museum, and there's one room in there. If you're ever in California, go to the Academy Museum. And there's a room that's just like a small sectioned off bit of screens where they're showing all these retro space films set to like curated music. It's like a little display, of course. And I think I spent a solid just 10 minutes fully mesmerized by it. Like, the setup is stunning. It's maybe one of the finest museum pieces I've had the pleasure of observing. So I've been knocking out some of those older space ones, like War of the Worlds is okay. This is the one where I'm like, oh, this delivers. Pays off like a fucking slot machine. I guess Forbidden Planet is next. I think that one's kind of campy, but it might be fun. But yeah, it was just as cathartic as I was hoping, seeking out that experience.
Yeah, God, I love that room. I agree. It's great to like see something and you're like, oh, that looks cool, and then you watch it and it's like, oh shit, that was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Dav, what did you think?
I thought it was great. It's a very timeless movie. I think the way it's shot is just awesome. Like every single shot is great. And even if it does kind of use like, I guess you would like kind of look at the costumes nowadays and say it's kind of cheesy, but like it still works because it's so sincere. But yeah, it's also got a great message.
Yeah, I agree. God, it's just cool ass movie, and I appreciate that. Anyways, over to you, Dev.
Dave. Okay, I'm gonna toast a video game I played, and that is Cassette Beasts, developed by, I think it's pronounced Byton Studio. This is a monster collector RPG heavily inspired by the Pokemon series, but it's basically like if you took that and made it in a way that it is digestible for adults. Because it's very streamlined, for one. It does not waste your time. You can beat the game in less than 30 hours.
That's a big draw for me, even as someone who's like stubbornly into Pokemon. I'm like, give me that 30-hour RPG.
Right, because like I feel like if you took a Pokemon game and just kind of cut out the parts where it's just like, oh, Pikachu was paralyzed, Pikachu used thunder, and just repeating those messages over and over again, displaying them for like 3 solid seconds before anything happens, you'd probably cut it down like 15 hours.
Yeah.
So Cassette Beasts does it very well, where it's just like you hit something and then a status effect icon shows up next to your health bar or next to the enemy's health bar or whatever, and it's just very nice. You like, over the course of the game, you just learn what those mean, and that's all it really needs, and it knows that.
Well, I'm starting to gather that this game's easier than Pokemon, because we know you struggle a bit with that, Dav. It's okay.
Well, I don't struggle with Pokemon. I struggle just understanding why people play it competitively.
Do I need to air out? Have I told the story of your Pokemon frustrations? When you were like, but then you were in our dorm room playing it, and you were just like, is it just me, or is Pokemon the most convoluted thing ever? And I was like, what? Why? And you were like, just like the type advantages, they don't make any sense. And I'm like, Pokemon taught me that water puts out fire. I don't know what you mean.
I don't think I was expressing that it was, like, difficult. I just don't, like... The problem that I was probably trying to get across there, and the problem that I still have with Pokemon, is that ultimately it feels like a big game of rock, paper, scissors, where the moves are kind of, like... They don't really mean anything if, like, you have a type advantage, so...
I see what you're saying, yeah. I wouldn't call that convoluted, but...
I feel like if you got into the like competitive scene, because
Yes.
like when I played with like my friends in high school who had been playing since like Gen 1, and like they were just doing shit I could not fathom, I was like, how does anybody get into this game now? Like,
Oh, there was a solid chunk of time where Will and I would go on Pokemon Showdown, which is just like a bootleg interface for playing Pokemon with whatever items and movesets you want, and it was like... And I think the most frustrating thing about it is that there are, I think, 1,000 now amazing Pokemon designs, and all anyone wants to do is be Blissey with Leftovers and Garchomp with, I don't know, Focus Sash. Like, the competitive nature is so narrowed down.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, so Cassette Beasts.
Yeah, Cassette Beasts. It's a monster collecting, you know, and I think this game, as much as I do like it, like it's really good. Like it's making me realize that maybe like monster collecting battle RPGs are just not for me, because I feel like you really need to be into like animals in some way. Like, you like have to look at an animal and be like, that's so cute or that's so cool. I want to tame it and own it and make it do shit for me. Like if that sort of thing like triggers something in your brain, that's probably like maybe a lot of people probably get like that's probably a natural instinct given that humans tame dogs and shit.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really click for me. Like I like having my pet cat and everything, but I don't get anything out of like, oh, this is an animal that I own and you know, that sort of thing.
Right, it's just a brain chemical that you just do not share like the enthusiasm for.
Right.
Kind of me with like crafting. Like whenever people are like, "Oh, you can craft," I'm like, "So?" Like
Yeah, which is probably
Also,
another
I
like
think-
base level instinct.
yeah.
I think that's probably me with boomer shooters.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's
Well, I
probably
don't-
just me with Half-Life, because I do like Doom.
Because you don't like driving vehicles.
Gavin and I named two broad human experiences as far back as the Chrome mags, and Will is like, it's like how I don't like Doom Eternal.
But I'm like blowing shit up and blowing up demons and shit.
Hey, I
Driving a
love fucking
boat.
Doom Eternal.
Yeah, Doom Eternal is great, and it runs fantastically well on the Steam Deck, as I'm seeing. It's really good.
Yeah.
But anyway, Cassette Beasts, despite that, it does have a like compelling enough story and characters for me to like really enjoy it. The kind of the hook of the story is that you wash up on the beach of this strange island, and somebody basically tells you that, hey, you're probably from another world, and we're all probably like from like some of us might be from the same worlds, but we're all coming here from different universes, and we've been here since like the 1800s. And people have just been kind of washing up on these shores, and there's like this city established here, and a bunch of encampments and shit. It doesn't really waste too much time with that. It's just like you kind of get the idea. It's like the Infinite IKEA, if you're familiar with that SCP, where people will go into an IKEA and sometimes they'll just meet people like, you know, somebody will be like, oh, the Statue of Liberty, what's that? I've never heard of that in my universe. Or what's the International Space Station?
Berenstain?
Yeah. So, you know, people from different universes, even different times sometimes. But you're all on this island together. And the monsters aren't necessarily things that you tame and own, but like you basically record them on these cassette tapes, and you get to transform yourself into that monster during battle using the
it's
cassette
fucking
tape.
Animorphs.
Yeah, it's Animorphs. But the animals are all just weird shit like Traffic Crab, which is just a crab with a traffic cone, like for a shell.
I like it, honestly.
There's some funny stuff like that. I don't think any of the designs are anything near as iconic as anything you would see in like, you know, the first few gens of Pokemon, but they're good.
Well, it's like we're at a level of brain poisoning, or at least I am, where you mention that, I'm like, oh, those indie devs know they're being kind of silly and cheeky with like a dumb idea. But if that was like in a Pokemon game, I'd be like, oh, I see what this guy here. There's some stuff
Yeah, pretty
going
much.
on.
But yeah, so you get these cassette beasts. There's quite a few of them, and the main gameplay loop is that you have one partner traveling with you at any time. There's like 5 or 6 different partners you can collect. One of them is a dog.
Well, there's only like 6, for layman's terms, there's like 6 Pokemon in.
No, it's like 6 people that like join your party.
Oh. Okay.
But there's like 100 something. I mean, God, there's 120 different like cassette beasts in the game.
Okay.
And the gimmick is that after you fight together with your party member for enough time, you can fuse together. So it ends up being a lot like that Pokemon fusion calculator, where it just takes like Squirtle and Tortwig, put them together, and it's a turtle. So it's like that, but you can literally do that with any and all of the monsters in the entire game. So there's like, it says like 14,000 fusions, like possible combinations in the game, which is really cool. They all have like their own unique designs and names and shit.
So it's not just like assets mashed together. They like went through the trouble of designing the unique concept of this traffic cone and I don't know, this like toaster.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they designed some type of algorithm to kind of like help it along, but yeah, it's for the most part they're just like very unique looking monsters with their names combined together. And what's cool about it is like the soundtrack for this game is really good. It's just like one guy and this vocalist. I think they're Australian or something. But they do the whole soundtrack, and you like when you're in battle, it's just instrumentals, and then when you fuse together, the vocals kick in, and it just gets really hype.
I love when the RPG just like kicks in a bit. Like that was the best part of Octopath Traveler, when it's like, oh, it's a boss battle, all right. The strength.
Yeah. But you kind of just have this world that's not too big, but it's like kind of a free roam to explore. There's a shitload of side quests. You have to fight all of these basically gym leaders and fill out this stamp card. There's a bunch of just like decrepit old buildings. There's like 8 of them, and they are occupied by these people who are just basically, they're like corporate zombies that are trying to sell you real estate, and they think that that's the future of the world, and they're just completely lost souls, and it turns out they're being led by like a demon creature, and it's its own thing. Like, that's just a side quest.
What the hell?
And of course you have like the people that if you pass them in the world, if you like look at them, they'll initiate a battle. And like one that I thought was really interesting was like there are these 2 like twin little kids, and they're just like, we both look the same, can you guess why? And you battle them, and at the end they're just like, we actually came from completely different worlds, but we happen to look exactly alike. We're not twins, so we're just hanging out with each other.
That's like that's the fucking origin of the Da Vinci twins.
Yeah, basically, it's the Da Vinci twins. But the story is that you fight all these, they're called archangels, and they are just like these really freaky looking, they're like in a completely different art style for the most part, and they're like ultra powerful fusions of they have their own like gimmicks and stuff, and you kind of fight through them, and that's pretty much the main story, is just going through all of those and trying to find a way to escape from the world. But even after you beat the game, you get options like basically Nuzlocke, like as a game mode.
Ooh.
And like a map randomizer and stuff. So there's a lot of replayability. And just, beyond that, I really appreciate how much this game treats you like an adult and knows you're an adult, because the party members are all fully grown adults, and you can romance any of them no matter who you are. Nice. And the romance is pretty mature, because like if you level up somebody's like their relationship enough, you can like basically choose to like kind of date them but kind of not. Like it's kind of implied it's just like a casual thing. Like one girl's just like, I don't really want anything serious, but if you just want to like watch movies and make out sometimes, that works for me.
Sounds great.
And then like if you spend more time with them after that, you can choose to like be like, all right, let's be boyfriend girlfriend or whatever. But it's just nice to see something like that in a game like this, where it's like, we understand that you played Pokemon when you were younger, and now you are grown and you can't stand Pokemon anymore, probably. So here's something to maybe scratch that itch at least.
There is that thing where Game Freak is always making just the most horny character designs possible. Like, of course, every time there's a new Pokemon game, every gym leader has like a nightmarish flood of character art. And because, like, every Pokemon game has the narrative of you are the best, it's very easy to interpret that as, yeah, and you're into me, too, obviously. You know, like, because every gym leader's like, oh, you're the best trainer I've ever... So it's always, like, almost a frustration. I'm like, just let me date Tulip. Let me do it. So it sounds like...
Stop making me play as a 10-year-old. I want to be free of my shackles.
Yeah, seriously, yeah. That sounds incredibly cathartic in that regard.
It is really nice, and I really do like the parallels to Pokemon with, like, you know, shinies are bootlegs and evolution is remasters, and like it's very blatant, the inspiration that's there, but it's just cool how streamlined and adult it is. You know, your level is tied to your character, not your monsters, so you're constantly
Oh, that's so nice.
yeah, you're constantly
if I get
increasing.
a new monster, I don't have to worry about grinding to get him on level?
No, each monster I think only has like you like technically level them up like 5 times, and then you can basically evolve them, but they hit the max pretty quickly, and you're just constantly leveling up throughout the whole game. So by the time you hit the final boss, you probably haven't really grinded at all, but you're ready to go. So
Whenever anyone's like, this is my take on Pokemon, I'm like, all right, buddy, but this sounds like they have their money where their mouth is.
yeah. No, yeah, it's really nice. And there's they just announced the day after I beat it, there's a Halloween expansion coming October 4th, and let me make sure, because I don't want to say it's free and it not actually be free, but it might be free. It's $7. But
nice.
It looks pretty cool. It's like this carnival area. It's like really dark. The like main boss or whoever is there is like a clown girl, so you know I'm down with that.
Jesus, you fuckers.
There's like a small drought of big releases like Wish, where I'm like, maybe I'll just catch up on indie games, and it was gonna be Dave the Diver. You're kind of pulling me into this one.
I ended up, you know what, I feel I'm not going to talk about Dave the Diver. Just because you brought it up, I will briefly say it did not end up being as good as I was hoping it would be.
Really?
It does start off very promising, but over time the gameplay loop, I think, is very unbalanced. I think you are spending way too much time underwater, like swimming around, with not as much to do as I would like. You have to do like 2 full cycles of that before you get to the sushi part, and then the sushi part is really short, and it feels like it's kind of undercut. But it's still a good game, but like it could have been way better if it was better balanced.
Long walk for a short drink of water, by the sound of it.
Basically, yeah. It's I mean, like I did like it. It's a good game, but like it gets exhausting pretty quickly.
All right. Well, they're probably both cheaper than a AAA game. I could probably spring for both.
Yeah, highly recommend Cassette Beasts. Runs very well on Steam Deck and stuff, so, you know, if you need
a budget I've mentioned I'm on.
Yeah. It's probably going to be on sale soon since that DLC's coming out, so.
I guess, can I take the wheel? We good?
Yep.
All right. So we recently, on kind of a low-key day, I posted an Austin Powers clip to the Discord, and Will made the horrid mistake of saying, I don't think I've ever watched Austin Powers. We rewatched, and for Will, watched, the first Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, and I was promptly reminded what an insane cultural landmark that film is. Like, when people say people don't make comedies anymore, it's like, yeah, there's still Strays and like Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar, but it's like there's no shit like this in theaters anymore.
Honestly, yeah. I feel like the parody genre in particular has kind of died out.
Do you think like the scary movie overload just like killed it?
I mean, there was that, and there was, do you remember Vampires Suck?
Well, that was like the same group of people. It just
it was?
Yeah. It's all two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, they killed that genre. They made way too much of that shit.
Yeah, I think Date Movie is like maybe the lowest rated film on some medium, IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes. Just horrible fucking movie.
Yeah.
So before that we had Austin Powers, which is like, it's very pointedly a parody of James Bond, but I think it's not like and a lot of it is James Bond gags, but it's really funny even if you're not like a Bond fan, because they kind of just use that as a foundation for a genuinely really funny Mike Myers character, who's just like this little gremlin guy. I think his theme music is maybe one of the most iconic leitmotifs ever. The fucking da 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 da.
I killed Bond in this one.
You killed James Bond? I've got a big, powerful gun. He doesn't stand a chance, baby. Man, the world needs... and I'm not even saying in a sense of like, oh, it's too offensive, they wouldn't make it today. There's like some, like, maybe kind of... but really nothing you couldn't show today without, like, tugging at your collar at, I don't think. Like,
Yeah.
It's
Relax, liberals. It's called dark humor.
Well, it's even like, there's this weird movement, like the scene everybody talks about is when Austin Powers won't sleep with Vanessa Kensington because she's drunk, and it's like, oh, we have a fully realized character with principles here. For like the cartoonishly most horny man alive. It's kind of like, it sounds cheesy to be like, oh, it's neat they made him kind of a character, but it is nice that he just has like moments of humanity behind fucking being like, do I make you horny, baby?
Let's jag, baby.
Oh, yeah. Just like such a perfect voice and endlessly quotable character. Mike Myers is also Dr. Evil. Gosh, yeah, I think Mike Myers has said that his performance as Dr. Evil is just an imitation of Lorne Michaels, who's the showrunner of SNL. And he's of course Ernst Blofeld from James Bond. I don't know if you guys have this experience, but it really is one of those things where like my parents did like raunchy comedies a lot, and they just kind of didn't care if I saw unless it was like really, really bad. So like I just got exposed. Yeah. It was like this and a lot of Ben Stiller movies I was exposed to far too young. And oh my god, I think if I asked my parents about this like today, they would like, a shiver would run up their spine. Because I had, as a young kid, what I recognized was like a weird fixation with the fembots.
Oh no.
Like I remember as a little kid, I was always interested in the fembots. And my mom at a certain point was like, you shouldn't be looking at this part of the movie.
Did you, like, what was your excuse as a kid? Did you think they were funny, or...?
I don't think I could fully wrap my head around it. I think I was like, yeah, we all like this movie. We're all on the same page here. The fembots are great. Like, my fucking god. And like, you know, I'm gonna play into the stereotype that Dav has established for me as a D&D heel incel. You could do a lot worse than the Austin Power movies for some eye candy. There's freaking a lot of vagina, very beautiful woman. There's... the second one has a lot of vagina. Which is a parody name, but when James Bond has love interests named Dr. Goodhead, then fucking... The second one has Heather Graham, who's a cutie patootie. Who plays Vanessa Kensington in the first one? I'm blanking on her name. Elizabeth something?
None of us are gonna know if you don't.
Yeah.
We were watching a movie recently, and I was like, is that Brittany Murphy? And Dav goes, no one knows woman actors like you, Tommy.
No, I said no one knows woman actresses, and you were just like, woman actresses as opposed to what?
Yeah. Yeah, Austin Powers, I'm not saying they should make another one. That would be terrible. But, like, weirdly nice thing to look back on, because it's like, I'm sure whatever was next to it on the DVD shelf has aged horribly and is incredible. Not even in like a PC police sense, but in a sense of like, oh, this just isn't very funny actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think like with a lot of those like like the funniest part of every Ben Stiller movie, I feel, has been posted on Facebook. You don't really need to.
Yeah.
You've seen the part of Zoolander where he goes, "A museum for ants," and he flips it. All right, that's about all I got for Austin Powers. I guess we'll have to watch the other two next, Will, because you haven't met Fat Bastard yet.
Yeah, you need to see Fat Bastard.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't even bring up Austin Powers' Mojo Rally.
Well, funnily enough, I've got one thing to no, I'm just
Will's got... Well, it wouldn't surprise me the way people are like, we've uncovered the canceled Conquer nearly finished video game for the N64, is that there was planned to be an Austin Powers kart racer for the Dreamcast called Mojo Rally. And I think there's like an IGN interview where they're like, well, to keep it E-rated, we couldn't actually put Fat Bastard's name in the game.
What did they call him?
I wonder if, like, on the I would guess on the character select screen, you hit an arrow and see the next car, and their name, like, isn't attached.
That would make sense, yeah.
I could absolutely, because no one's gonna be like, why aren't they displaying Mini-Me's name, you know?
Okay, but I also feel like he drives the fucking Shagmobile.
That's true. That'd be hard to...
feel like
Old
you
shaggin' wagon.
Yeah, the Shagwagon. I don't think you can do, like, an E for everyone Austin Powers.
I wonder if it would have only been... No, you could call a character Fat Bastard in a T-rated game. Yeah, and you would have to mark, because it was honestly kids watching fucking Austin Powers. It had to have... Yeah. Yeah, Austin Powers. It's pretty fun to look back on. Will, one last round.
Okay. So last time I toasted Spectacular Spider-Man. After I was kind of left empty on that, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try the 90s Spider-Man. Because I know, Sherman, you've talked like a lot of good stuff about it.
I love that show. For all of its weirdness, I love that show.
Yeah, I was obsessed with that when I was a kid.
Well, I'm obsessed with it now.
It has... Sorry.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I think it has a very toyetic way of drawing you in, because they're definitely... Almost everyone I know who had seen that show had a big face around it.
Yeah.
Well, like, I think I might like Spectacular just a little more, but
Fair.
I think they're like two sides of the same coin, and that Spectacular's kind of a perfect modern day Spider-Man interpretation. You know, because he's in high school, he's got a cell phone, but like the 90s Spider-Man feels like I'm reading a classic Spider-Man comic, and it feels great. A lot of the villains are just evil because, and they're fucking amazing with it. Might have one of my favorite Mysterios. Hank Azaria Venom is fucking great. Jim Cummings Shocker, who only shows up like a few times and is just kind of the Shocker, is really fun. And like, you know, even villains like I remember the Hydro Man episode. Not because I like Hydro Man, but because like the show does a good job of like making its villains unique, you know?
You made a big mistake bringing up Hydro Man, because I can't not talk about that guy for 10 minutes every time he gets brought up.
Hydro Man?
Because it's Rob Paulson, only an octave away from, like, PJ Pete from Goof Troop.
Which is only an octave away from fucking Carl
Weezer. But he's, like, genuinely, like, a relatively, like, creepily written stalker. So, like... He just drives me insane. You didn't think you'd get away from Hydro Man, would you?
Yeah. God, I didn't notice that. I'm gonna have to watch that again.
Oh, it's the only thing I could hear whenever... Because I don't feel like it matches his design very well. He looks like he would sound like real gruff, because he's so, like, buff. But he sounds like...
Sounds like an incel. It's pretty good.
If they recreated Hydro Man, they should. I guess he could look like me, and he's like a freak with a smart TV.
You can. He's gonna
My
be like
parents bought
Mary Jane, please come over to my house. I've got this little figure of an anime character taking a shit, and I got Anna Kendrick on my TV, and
Oh, if you can't laugh at
Anyway.
yourself. Anyway.
yeah, we have fun here.
Yeah.
All the villains are like pretty top tier. Like even like number one, it has a better Green Goblin than Spectacular. I say that with 100%.
I don't think many people would fight you on that.
Yeah, even though I love Steve Bloom, he's like perfect as a Green Goblin. I think the '90s one is just written in a better way. Hobgoblin, voiced by fucking Mark Hamill, is amazing.
I think Mark himself has admitted he's like, I tried to do something different, but it was just the Joker.
Yeah, but also like it fits.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill doesn't even remember voicing Goro Majima.
Which is really sad.
I think the Kingpin in this show is maybe one of the best villains in any cartoon.
Honestly, yeah. I think I'm trying to think of like through all the Kingpins.
He doesn't get adapted like a ton, honestly.
Yeah, I think like. Well, I guess there's a Daredevil show Kingpin, but I think he's like too much of a simp for Vanessa to be like actually frightening. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's my favorite Kingpin. I think it's cool how he's like, you know, he tells his backstory and he's like, yeah, my dad was a robber and I was this fat fucking kid and then I fucking worked out and look at me now. I'm like 1% body fat. All of this shit is muscle.
As like a little fat boy who sat out of PE because of his asthma, that episode spoke to me on so many levels.
Because your dad also manipulated you into robbing jewelry stores. And
My dad gave me this smart TV and it was very kind of him.
No, I bet your dad took it from a store.
Hey, Tommy, we gotta pay for this smart TV with the jewels I'm having you steal.
Did you see the one where he fights Daredevil?
I did get to the Daredevil episode, and that was fucking awesome. Daredevil is probably my favorite mainstream Marvel hero.
It's just so fucking cool how Kingpin basically kicks everybody's ass over the course of the show.
Yeah, no, he's a huge threat, and he's also like, he is very much like a slippery businessman. Like, there's pretty much every episode you're like, okay, he's not getting away with this, and then in the next episode he's fucking holding a conference that's like, and now I will be opening the Wilson Fisk School of Criminology.
How close are you to the end of the show?
I
You've seen Madam Web, so I feel like
Madam Web is fucking awesome.
Have you seen Morbius?
I have seen Morbius. He's the one villain I was like, okay, this sucks.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be so bad if he didn't take up the real estate of like an entire season to himself.
Yeah, Neogenic Nightmare.
Oh.
Also, I don't love this show's Craven.
Yeah.
But
so, I guess
like the
I really
MTV
don't
one
want to.
better.
There's maybe Kingpin and J. Jonah Jameson have maybe one of my favorite line exchanges in all the fiction. But I don't want to give it away if you haven't reached the part where it happens. I'm not sure.
Remember which season it's in?
I think it should be the last season, because have you gotten sorry.
I'm on season 3, I think.
I think there's like 4.
I think there's 6.
Oh. And Madam Web's already in it?
Here, let me log into your Disney Plus account since I
feel like Madam Web would be like towards the end-ish.
No, she's like pretty. I mean, it is like, you know, season 3-ish. Here, let me just check.
It's really not worth. It's a silly joke that they have together. It's not super worth it.
Okay, so there's 5 seasons. I just finished up season 3.
Okay. It's not super worth it for me to go through all. It's all right. Never mind.
Okay. Also, banger Carnage.
Yes.
As much as he is kidified, I think he's like the best you can do. For a kidified version of Carnage.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was really solid. It's just kind of a ton of fun. I don't easily get bored with it. Pretty much every Marvel hero crossover that they put in it is just really cool. I'm a big fan, and I'm upset that I've missed out on it so much.
But no, I can't wait to. I love that show for all of its weird footage reuses and screen
Honestly,
acting.
I think it works in its favor because it does feel like a classic Spider-Man comic.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you'll finish this up and you'll get to start the Neil Patrick Harris MTV show.
Oh, jeez.
Well, if you're going backwards, you should do the '60s one where it's like maybe only a third of the episodes have actual Spider-Man villains.
Most of them oh no, it's my greatest enemy, the feral fan. And it's just like a dude who's dressed as like a ceiling fan, and he's like, "You'll never catch me, Spider-Man."
It's like a lot of weird aliens and shit.
Yeah.
Just watch the Tokusatsu Spider-Man instead.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a bad idea. But what is also not a bad idea is me passing it over to you, Dev.
I'm going to talk about another wonderful indie game I played. So I am toasting Pseudoregalia. This is a Metroidvania that was developed by solo developer Ritzler. It is a very atmospheric game. It basically has PS1 or N64 styled graphics.
Is this the trailer you showed us?
Might have been. I feel like I might have showed you the trailer. Yeah. You control the main character's name is Cybele, and she's like an anthropomorphic goat lady. And it's the first thing I think anybody notices about this game, if you see any footage or screenshots from it, is that she is very clearly designed to be like a curvaceous furry character.
Uh-huh.
She doesn't wear any pants, and she just, that's what she looks like. But it's fine. There's an in-universe reason for it. They give a very brief explanation.
And the explanation is...
Oh, what's that?
What's the explanation? I'm on the edge of my fucking seat.
Well, I was asking the more important question. Does she have udders?
Oh my god, Tommy.
She has breasts. I don't know if I would call them udders. They're just like regular boobs. But you kind of wake up in this castle, in this dream realm, and there are a bunch of little tiny goats that are they're like little anthropomorphic goats too. They look kind of like little kids, and they're kind of scattered in prisons throughout the castle. And they are wearing the same outfit as you, but since they're tiny and you're wearing the same outfit, it just doesn't fit completely on her, because she's trying to disguise herself basically, but it's not working. So that's why she's not wearing any pants, and that's the explanation.
Oh.
But it is, like I said, a very cool atmosphere. You just kind of drop in this dank dungeon in this castle, and everything really does feel very dreamlike and just surreal. But it does, it's very classic sort of Metroidvania gameplay. You're kind of just going around picking up power-ups, getting to different parts of the map, unlocking different things. But unfortunately, the game doesn't have a map you can look at. So the world is not particularly huge, so it's not too difficult to eventually figure out where to go next, but keep in mind you will probably get lost if you play this, because there is no map unless you look online for a guide that has a fan-made one, which I did have to do a couple times. But apparently they are planning on adding an in-game map later. It's just that this game was developed as part of a game jam. The original version was made in about 3 weeks for a game jam, And then he took another 4 months to finish the full version that's available now. And I am blown away that this game was made in 4 months, because it is just frankly so well designed and cool looking that I just can't imagine somebody putting this together that quickly, especially by themselves. And the game is only $6, and it takes about 7 hours to beat the entire thing. So it's a really nice, short and sweet experience that is just so tightly and well made. And like, I think what really grabs you from the start is the movement is just so fun. You're like kicking off of walls and doing spins and stuff, and it's really fluid and just, it works so great. So I just from the start, beyond it just being a Metroidvania and the atmosphere, I just had so much fun like running around. So if I was getting lost, I wasn't like having too bad of a time. It was still fun to just kick off of walls and figure out all the like cool skips you could do if you mastered the mechanics enough to like jump over walls you're not supposed to get into yet. And it's just fun how open-ended the game works that way.
Is it kind of a take on Castlevania? Like, you said it's a Metroidvania, but like, I kind of keep picturing Castlevania 64. Is that kind of where it's headed?
Maybe. I've never played Castlevania 64, but I've heard that game sucks, so
Yeah.
maybe not.
Well, the trend lately is take a game that's infamously bad and make your good version. I was like with RZ and the CDI games and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I could definitely see that at least being an influence on this, considering the like Nintendo 64 styled graphics. The combat is not really super present. You don't really have to do much fighting. I mean, every time you hit an enemy, you regain some power, which you can use to heal yourself. And there are like a grand total of 2 or 3 boss fights, and really only the last one is substantial, but it's pretty fun. Again, this game is probably, it's not huge, but it is, for what it is, just being this short and simple thing that was made for a game jam, it's really great. I had a great time with it. If he does update it later, I would be looking forward to that, and I think that they do have plans to make more games in the future that are very similar, so I will definitely keep an eye on that.
Yeah, I think it's nice when I've noticed that like a lot of cool stuff has come out from game jams, and so like I remember the first thing I ever voice acted in was for a game jam, so I have a lot of respect for them. And I'm glad this one, even though I won't play it because I'm stupid and can't get around without a map, it sounds really cool.
Yeah, pretty great. I also very much respect game jam games, especially when it's made by one person, because I just can't imagine having all the skills to make the graphics and the sound and the coding and the game design, and just doing all that in such a short amount of time is ridiculous to me.
It's like, it's a child's unrealistic idea of how video games are made. It's like, I could just do it on my own.
Yeah, but that actually works.
Yeah, exactly.
But these people are like insanely skilled. I mean, this is probably, I would say this is almost certainly not the first game this guy has ever made.
And it won't be the last.
No, yeah. This takes some experience to produce.
I feel like I'm gonna say, and it won't be the last. In the next podcast, you're gonna be like, yeah, so the guy who made that game died.
I will not eat a single morsel of food until Rinsler is dead and buried.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my praise for this really cool, surreal game. I wish I played it high, because that would have been fantastic, and maybe I'll do that in the future. I don't know.
How long is it?
Like to beat?
Yeah.
Like 7 hours.
Gee, and I think for a video game jam, is that making it in just so many sittings? Like,
what do you mean?
Like, when I hear video game jam, I almost think of like, a 24-hour project.
Oh, so the original game jam that this was made for, that was 3 weeks. It was for specifically like a Metroidvania game jam.
Okay.
But this final product was made with like 4 more months of like adding features and refining stuff.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really good. Highly recommend.
Wonderful. I can take the wheel then for the last one before news.
Yep.
Alrighty. Now, I'm a little trepidatious to mention this. Maybe talk through if it's a good idea, guys. Because I'm making a video about it at the moment. So it's something I'm critical of. That's an elephant in the room that Dav likes. And I wonder if talking through it with someone who feels more positive would help or hurt the production. You can probably guess I'm talking about my adventures with Superman. What do you think?
Oh yeah, sure.
Go for it.
And also, I know there's nothing less fun than talking to a comic book fan when you disagree with them. And I'm going to be as autistic as possible in that I'm laying out that I've gotten the feedback. I can come down a little hard sometimes, so like, got the exit ticket if this isn't fun anymore. Just saying.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
All right, okay. So, my adventures with Superman. It's hard to know where to begin because I've mentioned Mortal Kombat's probably my favorite video game. DC is probably like my favorite universe of fiction, specifically mostly the comics and kind of mostly also the Bruce Timm animated universe. And Superman is my favorite character, full stop. So everyone's like, oh, we all love this new Superman show, and we all think it's the best one. And I feel a little like, oh. And it's, in some ways, it just, didn't jive with me. And in some ways, I kind of have problems with it. I guess, where should we start, Dav? What do you think we should start talking about?
I mean, how he's introduced, maybe? Is there anything you have issues with, the first episode?
I guess it kind of ties into... Okay, let's talk about this. Is that what everyone talks about, and when people say this, I can tell they don't know what they're talking about, is, oh, Superman is too powerful and too bland to be interesting. When, I feel like the conflict of the character consistently is he can do anything, but he holds himself to principles where he can't. So I feel like this show is trying to address that, where they're like, oh, we'll make Clark like a really, a cute, sensitive guy, and that'll be his personality for this. And I'm like, okay, sure. But you've got episodes where he and Lois agreed to go on a date, and he's like fucking nervous, and he's like a nervous wreck. And it's like, sure, that's a human reaction, but it's also like, it's like, imagine if Superman was nervous to go into a fight. It's like, Clark, if you're on a date with Lois Lane, you can fly over to Paris and get fresh baked pastries and be back before she even knows it. And it's like, they want to make Clark relatable, but I feel like the second you make him... This is so hard to articulate. The second you give him human problems, it doesn't make sense, because that's not a problem he would have. What makes him relatable is that he has to hide those aspects of himself. And, Superman having to hide that he's the strongest and fastest person in the world it was the author's stand-in for having to hide they were Jewish. It's my stand-in for having to code neurodivergent in that I constantly break things and shit. And it's, a lot of people see it could apply to sexuality or passing. So I'm like, I feel like so much of the conflict around Superman has to be around hiding things. And they never give him a reason to do that in this show, because everyone's just nice to him. I don't really see... Am I starting to make sense? I feel like I'm going on a bit too long. Do we have a starting point here?
You're making sense to me.
No, yeah, you're making sense. But I do wonder if that has anything to do, because I have not really seen or read or anything, a whole lot of other Superman media at all. Mm-hmm. So am I anywhere off the mark in saying that this version of Superman kind of finds out who he is later than other versions of Superman?
I think there's truth to that. I think there is truth to that. They do handle it, because in this one he almost gathers his powers like an RPG.
Right.
It's almost like a Metroidvania Superman, where he gets his powers over time. So I do think there's truth to that. I think that, and that would shake up the format a bit. That does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, because he, from the start, he does know that he has like these powers, he doesn't really use them much except like to, help a cat out of a tree or something.
Yeah.
Just very occasionally will fit that in when he can. But it seems like his actual origins are like just a total mystery to him until like later on in the show. And so I wonder if maybe he's just spent so much time as a human, basically, just like a very athletic, powerful human, but outside of that, not thinking anything else of it, that maybe that's why he has kind of these more human struggles, and that's kind of more the focus of it.
And you might be pointing out why I feel so out of place. Because, like, here's the other thing, too. Like, Lois and Clark, they pretty much immediately get along. And it's a short show, so they recognize each other's feelings pretty fast. There's never really a point where, and like, the oldest, and I'm not saying they should do this, the oldest versions of Superman and Lois in the 1930s, when it was like a comic strip, the gag was that Lois couldn't fucking stand Clark, but she liked Superman. And what was cathartic about that was that Superman was his true self. In a way, Clark is actually the disguise. So in this, when she's like quickly attached to Clark too, again, it's like, I just don't like how it kind of course there's still a secret identity and they draw into that with the villains of the show, but I feel as though they don't want to make Lois mean, of course, and I agree with that. They shouldn't, that's a very antiquated point of view to take. But there are aspects where Lois and Clark don't see eye to eye, but but Superman and Lois do. And I think this show kind of blurs those lines by making them so buddy-buddy in the first place.
Well, yeah, especially because, how far into spoilers do we want to get with this show?
It wrapped at the very start of this month. I think since we said it, people can skip ahead. I think we're okay.
Yeah, so, especially since, she finds out who he is so early on in the show, there isn't really a lot of room for that.
Exactly, yeah.
For there to be, a distinction between the two. I don't think that's what this show is really trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, as much as I do like the show and the characters and the story it tells, there are parts of this that I really do not like at all. There are some very low lows, to be honest.
Do you agree
think the whole...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you agree with me that the villains kind of suck in this show?
For the most part, yeah. There's a few interesting ones, but...
Mm-hmm.
Twink, Deathstroke, and fucking...
I didn't really hate Deathstroke. I just feel like it felt like they would introduce a villain and they would just not be very important.
Oh, yeah.
Deathstroke is my favorite villain ever. And, an important part of his character is that, is the fact that he is missing an eye because that's, his hubris. Because he lied to get into the army and he lied to get a super soldier serum. And then, he just, kept on. He lied to his family that he was an assassin because he loved to do it. And then eventually he had to choose between the job and his son, and he chose the job, and his son got his throat slit, and then his wife stabs him in the fucking eye.
Well, in this, he loses it in a fight with Livewire. Checkmate.
Are you... What?
It's one of those... The fucking prequel moment of, you were expecting him to lose an eye. Here it is. It's a prequel. It's an origin.
Fucking stupid. Because, Death... Like I said, the eye is... It's not just a design choice. It's an important part of who he is. He needs to be humbled in that, severe way from someone he loved in a moment of, pure there is no right decision. Just losing it, fighting it with, another villain is where's the emotional stake in that?
I think it was Livewire. Yeah, what else was on your mind for what we don't love about it?
All the multiverse shit, the fucking Council of Ricks. The Council of Ricks, but for Lois, was so fucking stupid.
Because, that makes sense to do for Rick Sanchez, because, he would build a device like that. And like, okay, the Illuminati and Multiverse of Madness is in execution terrible, but I see where the ideas are. But it's like, why would Lois Lanes have like an interdimensional network of themselves?
And why are there so many of them that have had such horrible experiences with Superman that, like, they decide they've dedicated themselves to, like, fighting him? Because it's implied that evil Superman is, like, an inevitability in pretty much every universe, and I feel like that's kind of a bastardization of his character.
I think it's a symptom of a bigger problem where that's the only place some writers know how to take him. But I think it's a very easy way to like put that anxiety into Lois without actually giving Superman any flaws. Like, what if he took a fight too far and had to like hold himself? What if that's what scared Lois? That he gets in a fight with the fucking parasite and draws blood and doesn't kill him, but is like, oh fuck, I like lost it for a sec there. That'd be fucking terrifying. But instead, you have to go through a portal, teleport by an elf, and see a TV screen of a Clark in another world. Like, are you like, give me a fucking break?
And they could have also just like they could have done something like that, but introducing General Zod since he is a Kryptonian.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like, look at me, Kal-El. This is what you can do, but choose not to. And then,
Oh, but I think General Zod is kind of in this show, but all the aliens and alien technology have helmets, and it's like the shitty Voltron designs where everything's a cone.
oh Jesus.
I hate that shit. And that, I don't want to make this into negativity hour. I want to get back to what Dav like. Can I springboard onto one last thing that I think is like almost insidious?
Yeah.
Is that General Lane, Lois's father, the military general, props for adapting him because he's always been like a straight-laced, almost xenophobic character in my experience. Props to like making him a proper villain. People don't do that a lot. But there's a point where he captures Superman and is torturing him. And, you know, Superman being a stand-in for these marginalized identities, this is of course like a stand-in for military prejudice and torture and hate crimes and lynching, really. Like, I don't think there's any other way around it. Is that General Lane was attacked by aliens when he was younger and his platoon was lost, and now he's suspicious of all of them, and that gives him that prejudice. And he's torturing Superman, shocking him, all that good stuff. And he's like, look what your kind did. And he like shows pictures of the old attacks. And Superman responds to this by crying because he feels so bad. And I'm like, so if someone hated me for my disability, I should cry and feel bad? Is that what we're saying here? Like,
That I'm not sure how to. Actually, I am sure how to feel about that. That's just really stupid.
is that a poor faith read? Like, what do you think, Dav?
I think I'll say it is, because I think at this
Okay.
point, as much as, like, yeah, originally, yeah, maybe that's what the metaphor was going for, I think in this show it has kind of been abstracted out so far to the point where it's not really trying to say anything deep like that. It's just Superman is getting tortured, and that's... I don't think there's really a deeper meaning to it.
But doesn't General Lane like throw around terms like your kind and this is what you do?
Sure, but I don't think that it's necessarily supposed to be like a you should be guilty or you should feel guilty.
No, I'm not saying that's what the writers set out to do. I guess I just see Superman so much as a symbol of strength. And like people were like, I felt so much for Superman in this scene, seeing him cry, seeing him vulnerable. And that's important, but considering what he's always stood for to me, seeing him like vulnerable to an enemy, accusing him of something he did not do, I feel is counter to the spirit of the character.
I guess.
I would probably agree with that.
And I'm not saying he can't cry, I'm not saying he can't be vulnerable, he can be a big ol' softy at times. But like, and you know, again, it is like it's all been so abstract, he means so many things to so many people. Of course, it contradicting with my specific experience is not the one and only one. But consider he's always stood for being like, I'm here, I'm an alien, I'm not gonna and it's painful when I have to hide things, but you're not gonna accuse me of being a net negative. When Cadmus is trying to lock him up in the Bruce Timm stories, he never once is like, maybe it is wrong. It's just there's an unwaveringness to Superman that I think people mistake for stubbornness, when really I think it's a symbol of not apologizing for who you are, and how Superman is unapologetically what Clark Kent is.
Yeah, that's fair. But I just I'm coming at this as somebody who just does not have much background with Superman at all outside of the Snyder movies.
Yeah.
As somebody who's this is an original, this is okay. I don't know Superman. Here's a new Superman story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking what's happening mostly literally. It works in that way, I think. If you do add that background to it, yeah, I could definitely see why that's not a great representation of him. But as in a completely original. What if Superman was a guy who was suddenly having all this responsibility thrust on him and is suddenly being public enemy number one from the U.S. government and shit? What would this guy be going through? That it works for me in that sense.
Dev, minus the government part, you're just describing Spider-Man a little bit.
It does feel very similar to a Spider-Man origin story.
I think we just hit the fucking nail on the head here.
It's there's a lot of modern superhero origins are kind of inspired by fucking Danny Phantom is just Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Spider-Man, but done by Butch Hartman.
Oh. Butch Hartman would write a line where Superman's like, I'm sorry I disrupted Lex Luthor's clean utopia.
But yeah, as someone who's unapologetically, Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, so I guess that's probably why this works for me. It's a normal guy who suddenly got all this shit thrown at him.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the people who made this show probably grew up with that sort of thing. They probably grew up watching Danny Phantom, and now this is what they're making.
That makes a lot of sense. And at the risk of overcompensating, I want to hear more of just what you like, and I'm not going to pick on it for a sec, because I feel like I dominated for a sec there.
Okay, I mean, number one, the animation is pretty damn good, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
And the fight scenes, they are well choreographed. They're pretty cool.
The final fight, where someone goes kaiju, has some really cool shit in there.
It is, yeah. I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed basically how Lois helps with that. And there is some pretty good humor kind of injected into that, and just kind of throughout the show, there's some pretty good comedy.
Yeah.
Like the Come to Brazil.
They did a really good job with the older people, the other workers of Daily Planet that no one likes, Cat Grant and Steve.
Yeah,
they're really good.
I enjoyed the slice of life stuff. The character dynamics were cool. I like that the romantic subplot does not waste any time. It's just nice that kind of kicks off, and we don't have to do any will they, won't they shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are some pretty good moments, just some powerful... The way that Lois, outs his identity was, I think, pretty good.
I'm not... Can I play devil's advocate?
Sure.
When last time we watched Invincible together, you pointed at Amber and said, "I fucking hate her."
I don't think they're...
Why do you feel it's done better here?
I don't think they're very similar. At all. I think Amber fucking despises the fact that Mark is a superhero. I don't think Lois hates the fact that Clark is who he is. She just doesn't like that he hid it from her.
Yeah. Well, and I also feel Lois is an adult and Amber is a child. And that's...
Wait a second, Amber's in college.
No, they're in high school.
Oh, fuck. You know what? 90s Spider-Man on my mind, because they're in college in that show.
Will's like, I gotta delete some files off my computer.
Ew.
Shit.
I'll delete it. I'll delete that.
Tommy, Nah.
I swear to
you
God,
know-
I'll delete it.
Okay.
I'm cutting it.
I liked when Lois met his parents. That was cool.
I
There's
love
some funny moments there.
I love a holiday Superman story. They captured that really well.
Yeah. But, I mean, honestly, all that stuff put together, I think it's like substantial and it's good enough that it brings the show up for me. I am nervous about where they're gonna go from here, because if they keep like really going into the multiverse stuff, I'm gonna lose interest really fast, because that shit is so stupid.
If they make it less cutesy, even with the change, like I don't need like Mala and Brain are villains in the comics. I don't know why they're so cutesy in this show. If they just play a few things straight, we don't need like sexy Deathstroke. Even with the changes, I think I'd be relatively more on board.
Yeah.
Really nervous about their Lex Luthor, but maybe that's a discussion for another day.
If
It
it's
is going to
that
be
guy, it's
fucking Jesse Eisenberg.
Since we agree, Lex Luthor's evil stems from privilege, so it makes no fucking sense he was ever anybody's intern.
is it this like Alex or whatever his name
Yeah,
is? He's just
yeah.
like, hey, the intern, go and get me this shit. And
Exactly.
he's lame. I'm not down with that.
Voiced by... They cast One Punch Man because he's gonna turn bald. Son of a bitch! Alright. We ready for news?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Alright. So, D23 happened. Will, I know sometimes you have your eyes on that. Were there any, like, significant announcements?
They said when the Hatbox Ghost is coming to Orlando, so that's exciting.
Like,
But that's huh?
as a costume character?
No, they're like putting him. He wasn't in the mansion in Florida. They're like putting him in.
What?
Yeah, I mean, the Hatbox Ghost has like a crazy fucking backstory. He was only added to the one in California in like, I want to say like 2015, 16.
That's insane.
Yeah, he was there on the opening day, but the effect didn't work, so they took him out, but they forgot to take him out of promotional material, so people still knew who he was, and then they were like, where the fuck is he? And then they're like, fine, we can make the effect work now. There's your Hatbox Ghost lore.
Oh, wow. I had no idea. Okay. I always had my eyes closed when I was a little kid writing Haunted Mansion, so I had no idea. Country Bear Jamboree is changing up. We probably don't need to dwell on this. I feel like there was something that... Maybe early September was so dry for news that I was like, I guess D23 will do, but in the last 2 weeks, a bunch of shit. We're getting a new Zootopia stage show. Alright, that'll do it.
Every single thing you say about like a luxury resort park just adds more to your D&D character backstory for me, so...
Will's the one who's part of a fucking YouTube page where he tells esoteric trivia about a theme park he's visited more than me! I put it in for his benefit. If you want, the podcast will just be all Tommy shit, and I'll go on and on about the significance of Darius's cameo moves in Mortal Kombat 1. I'm trying for you people.
Yeah, all 45 times I rode the Haunted Mansion ride as a kid after school, you know, whenever my parents would just fly me out in their private jet, I'd close my eyes because it was too scary.
We had a Nintendo Direct.
Oh, yeah.
It was a pretty dry one, but I think I know why. So.
Why?
Which is like on its last leg.
Because next year is probably when we're getting the new Switch. They don't want to put too much big shit on this one.
And I remember the last Direct, we were like, wow, how come Mom let us have 2 Marios? And now it's like, why are they giving us 4 Mario?
This is the
I'll
movie.
fucking play all of them. They all look cool, but it was just like a lot to take in at once.
Yeah.
F-Zero 99, we're playing it because we're obligated, or else Shigeru Miyamoto will tell us, well, you didn't play it, so I guess we'll just put Link in a Chrysler again. That's all you get.
And it's good. It's a good game.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I consider toasting it, but I think where we went today is better. What else? Was there much else really announced? No Zelda stuff. That's finally behind us. Splatoon DLC is really strange that it hasn't come out yet.
It's like, yeah, they announced it way ahead of time, and I can't really understand why. Like, there's no way it's taking this long to make it.
Yeah. They had, like, Detective Pikachu, right? You're kind of about that.
I mean, I just think that the idea of Detective Pikachu is funny. I haven't actually, like, played the games.
Oh,
But, like, it's cool. Yeah, another Detective Pikachu. Maybe they'll finish the story or something. Who knows?
Because there was that whole leak debacle, because we've all been waiting for... By we all, I mean the freaks who still, like, really love Donkey Kong like I do. We've all been waiting for that Donkey Kong Country. And, was his name, like, what, Papu something? The penguin guy? Like, leaked that it would be Donkey Kong. And then everyone was heartbroken that it was Mario versus Donkey Kong, but... And you know what? I would love a country game as much as the next guy. I would prefer that to this. But I think if you only love Donkey Kong in one context, you don't really love Donkey Kong. So I'm pretty excited for this.
Sure, I mean, I guess I played some of the... I think I played, like, March of the Minis on the DSi back in the day, and to be honest, that style of game is really boring to me, but, you know...
People say that one's a departure. It's not the same as...
I could see that. Still, It's just, like, it's not my type of game. I'm probably gonna skip this one.
Oh, fair enough. I don't think Nintendo's expecting people to tear down the walls for Mario versus Donkey Kong, but, like... Looks cute to me.
No, I'm way more about Thousand Year Door remake.
Oh, I feel that...
Well, no, it's more of a remaster, right?
I was gonna say, I was looking at
Kind
the
of.
footage. And I was kind of like, so, like, what's terribly different here?
There's, apparently they're bringing a lot of stuff that was in the Japanese version only over to the West. So
Oh! Okay, that's actually rather significant. That was totally lost on me.
Yeah, I guess the clue was, like, the computer thing, like, its color is different from the Western version, but it matches the Japanese version.
Oh, Dav, tell why that announcement actually put you in a bad mood, though.
Oh, because I...
Oh,
So, okay, Thousand Year Door on the GameCube is it's an infamously rare game that is difficult to get. But I finally decided, I think it would be cool to have this in my collection. So, about a week or so before this Direct, I went on eBay and spent $110 on a copy. And now I have it, it's complete in box with the manual and everything, and then they announced the remake, and then I looked on eBay, and the price of the thing that I bought dropped by like $40 already, so...
Dun, 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 dun.
Whatever, it's cool to have still, and I'll get this one as well, but,
Why did Arlo become, like, such a meme around this announcement?
People they did the, like the red Zer, yellow Zer, pink Zer thing from Twitter a while back.
Not really.
It was like this incredibly convoluted and just massive webcomic of, like, one single Bowser sprite where he's crossing his arms, but it's like, it's like just different colored versions of him, and they all have their own personalities, and some of them are like dating each other, and you would lose your mind if I showed it to you. But
so they applied that to Arlo?
They applied that to Arlo, like the thumbnail, and it's like, here's Green Arlo, and he wants to kill himself.
Because I thought people were just like shit posting about him kind of overreacting to the announcement, maybe. Like,
It's just the Redzer and Pisszer, and the Pisszer is a thing, by the way, Pisszer, and they just do that, but with like that one Arlo thumbnail, and just like, what would the different reactions be if the personalities were different?
This is gonna be like a Skibbity toilet level deep dive where we pop in Eddie and you just show us everything this phenomenon has to offer. Alright, I'm just going through Nintendo IP in my head. I think that's pretty much all they had. The F-Zero stuff, no Star Fox, no Metroid, Pokemon with Animal Crossing's done.
Princess Peach game, that looks interesting.
I think it looks cool. I like
Luigi's Mansion 2.
I like a thespian theming to anything.
Yeah, it looks like it might be a little too, like, simple.
Yeah,
I
could
it's
see
probably
that.
Be really boring.
I could kind of see that too. You're talking to a guy who loves Yoshi's story because it's pretty. So if there's like enough bells and whistles,
yeah, you probably like it then.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon on 3DS, so that's neat that it's coming to Switch. But I am baffled that the first one hasn't come to Switch yet.
Yeah, what the fuck? Well, I'm kind of baffled there isn't just like a GameCube NSO thing, so we wouldn't have to have all these remasters and shit.
It'll probably be on the next console, but I think they just don't want it to compete with the remasters.
And because that'll be the point where like Double Dash is retro, and I'm gonna like crumble into dust.
Well, one of
Double
my
Dash is already retro.
one of my coworkers pointed out that like a big reason why I think Nintendo like withholds games is so people like get nostalgic for it and think it's better than it is.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, no one gave a shit about Skyward Sword, and then it was ported, and all of a sudden everyone's like, "Oh my God, Skyward Sword!" I feel like they just kind of do that with multiple properties.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, that's probably everything from that. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. You guys were kind of popping off about this. What's the deal there?
Oh my god.
Hell yeah. Akiyama's back, baby!
Yeah, he's a pound mate, just like Kaoru.
See,
Oh my God,
sometimes I keep track of what's for you guys, because this is like, you guys are naming off some glup shittos for me right now.
Well, I assume that you haven't actually watched the trailer yet, because you're not, like, caught up on the series yet, right?
Yeah, I just know that Kiryu has cancer.
Yeah,
and I learned that from a fucking OK Buddy Persona meme.
Was it the one where is it the one with Chie? Where
Yep. I think we're talking about the exact same one.
Don't worry, Kiryu, you can beat cancer. Yeah, wow. Oh my god. This game looks fucking amazing, dude. It's the gameplay is like 7 already has a really good like gameplay and combat for like the first time they made a JRPG game as what was originally just an April Fool's joke. This just turns everything up to 11 and just refines everything so well. I'm so looking forward to it.
I have seen like a little bit of it. I love how Kiryu can break out of the RPG style and just start beating the shit out of people.
Yeah,
like,
you just start button mashing and it fucking goes back to beat 'em up. It's so great.
Wonderful. I still have my copy of Yakuza 0 waiting to be played. I gotta get caught up.
Yeah, I mean, this strikes me as a series you would really dig, Tommy. So I don't know why you haven't started yet.
I'm waiting. I gotta time it right, because the second I like dip a toe, I could see it just like fully plunging me in.
Oh yeah, it sucked me in. Like I played 0 and I'm like, fuck, I need to stop playing every other video game until I'm done with this series.
So maybe that's another November, December project, because in October is when Mario Wonder comes out. Then after that, I don't think I have any other big releases mapped out. Yeah, so maybe that'll be that.
Spider-Man?
I guess. It's not as... I still have to play the first Spider-Man, even.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's really good. And
Yeah,
you've got a PS5, so you can get the... You know,
Screwball?
Yeah?
Yeah, you get the remaster of the DLC and Miles Morales.
Yeah.
There was an event today called Netflix Drop 01, with a lot of interesting trailers and announcements and shit that, like, the kind of shit that makes me say all my homies hate Netflix, but this is some kind of tasty shit. Let's see. First look at Castlevania Nocturne. I think that goes live on Friday, maybe tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
So when you guys are listening
Jesus
to this
Christ.
today, because I'm gonna edit this tomorrow probably. So it's as you're listening to this, it's out. Go watch. It's probably good. I think Maria Renard is awesome. I haven't seen the show yet, but she's cool.
Heard that apparently they cut the dude who like produced the first Castlevania series, and that has me like high key nervous.
Is it the guy who's working on Devil May Cry right now? Spoiler
Yes.
alert.
But
Maybe-
no,
well, yeah.
I have heard that it like was not a like it wasn't like a okay, I'm gonna head out and work on Devil May Cry now. It was like a non like
You don't say.
yeah.
Huh. I'd count Devil May Cry at least as a net positive in that way, but that would be a bummer if his involvement left a hole in that show. I guess we'll find out by the time you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Continental has a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. Who's that to say about disappointing IPs? I don't know. We got a look at Pluto. Have you guys heard about this?
No.
Nope.
It's based on a fucking phenomenal manga that's like a gritty crime noir adaptation of an Astro Boy story called The Strongest Robot in the World.
Don't say adaptation. I hate that
I'm sorry.
pronunciation.
What? Oh, adaptation as opposed
Yeah.
to... Okay. I thought you were gonna like... I thought you were getting at me about like, oh, it's actually a remake or a reboot or a remaster.
No, it's just one of my... I'm like fucking Bane in the Harley Quinn series. I just have pet peeves about certain words that are always said the wrong way, and adaptation is one that people always mispronounce.
Adaptation. Okay. But it looks cool. I think it'll be cool. I have a soft spot for Astro Boy shit, and it's gonna be like bloody and weird and cool, I think.
That's neat.
We got that first clip of Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, and I had like weird, warm feelings about it, and I really loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Michael Cera, I think arguably does a better job as Scott's voice than like his entirety. He just fits the animated character perfectly.
Well, it's also
Does
like
really well.
I think it's just also like a decade and a half has passed, so things changed. There's little things just like their voice sync is a little bit off, but I kind of love that about it. Like it just fits how offbeat and like fuzzy it is,
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's because because the Japanese version's coming out at the exact same time.
I was wondering
And
about that.
I watched the trailer for it, and they seem to like match up pretty much perfectly. So I'm just wondering if maybe they animated for the Japanese first, and maybe that's why.
Yeah. I kind of wasn't sure. Sorry.
I was gonna say it's like celebrities, and dubbing is like a very specific skill set. So
Yeah. I'm glad you pointed that out. That's probably a big specific part of it. But it just like suits Scott that he just looks like, and that like I always forget her name, but Aubrey Plaza's character is just like so mad that her lips
Julie?
can't. Yes, Julie Bowers. Can't even keep up with her own lip sync. Yeah. But and then also whenever people call things an anime adaptation, I get confused if it's like, so wait, are we talking like an anime like it's being made in Japanese first, or like anime style? Because like Castlevania isn't an anime, but people call it the anime because it's anime style and it's arguably animated in Asia. So I don't know.
It's confused. It's just like it's not even like worth fighting over at this
Yeah.
point because it's that. Also, shit is outsourced so much that you could pretty much call anything an anime at this point because technically it was touched on by somebody in Japan at one point. So.
It's like Tom and Jerry is anime. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the way you say their names, Tommy.
Tom and Jerry.
There we go.
Speaking of which, Tomb Raider the anime.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know.
It
It could be a Castlevania situation where I didn't really play the original game, but it still ended up being really good. But also, like, Tomb Raider is so uninteresting to me for some reason, so I don't know if I'm down with this.
Is it because the protagonist isn't Nathan Drake, who's saying things like, "Oh, we wet those kitties"?
Could be, yeah. I mean, I do like Uncharted more, but I
like Uncharted.
refuse to watch the movie.
I'm being a
Sorry.
fizzy Frank. I do like Uncharted. We got a couple like things I'm not as like Blue Eye Samurai is something. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I think I just heard about Devil May Cry then, and Scott Pilgrim, because all the rest of this sounds like. Yeah, and then we've got Flibbleflorp, the quest for the Glorbus, and that one looks awesome.
Will, you're gonna absolutely think I'm making up Captain Laserhawk.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's a real thing. It's like a weird Ubisoft crossover where they all like live in a city, I guess. The only character I recognized is Rayman, so I kind of couldn't make heads or tails of it.
Well, He-Man's coming back for some reason.
Oh yeah, that show was good, alright? It wasn't so bad.
I thought the first season was just not very well received.
People threw a fit and I think people threw a fit and it was another, like, nostalgia baby thing, honestly. Because He-Man so people will tell you they kill off He-Man in the first episode, when that's not necessarily true. He's trapped in another dimension and he does come back. Yeah. And they recast, Sarah Michelle Gellar was originally Tila, but they switched her out with Melissa Benoist, who's Supergirl, who I love. I'm kind of amped for that.
Neat.
Yeah. All of that. Alright, and last, and probably the biggest piece of news, the Writers Guild of America has reached an agreement, and the writer's strike as of midnight last night, I believe, has officially ended. And, I was nervous that when this day came, it would be kind of like we had to settle situation. But at least from what I've seen, people are saying it's, like, worth celebrating. It's, like, a really good deal that people are worth, like, being this happy about. So it seems like it was a pretty good outcome.
Yeah, and they're really attacking the AI shit.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I think studios, and in particular, like, writers as well, just kind of realized that executives aren't creative. They can't do shit. And I think executives felt that, like, oh shit, without people with actual talent, we're not going to be making any money.
So that Toy Story Super Bowl is like the nail in the coffin for me.
Amanda told David Zaslav that he's being creative. What? Don't tell David Zaslav that when he sees volcanoes or little pimps, it's cool. Because he's gonna keep on picking things up and saying it's other stuff. I imagine Screen Actors Guild, it's not gonna be easy, but they probably won't be far behind if it's just like a similar matter of... That sounds really dismissive. I don't mean to sound that way. But if it's a similar matter of giving them proper pay and residuals that they could fulfill for writers, I think this is the executives kind of getting their shit together. That's not to say that statement won't end poorly, but it does leave me kind of hopeful that we'll have media again pretty soon.
Yeah, and like that fucking artists will be paid what they deserve.
Absolutely, yeah, that's what truly matters. Striking against I think video game voiceover has been authorized, so hopefully that'll bring about some changes as well, because there's some fucked shit going on there. Will, do you want me to remove that, Will? Are you allowed to be adjacent to that conversation?
No, I'm allowed, and
Okay.
like, I mean, as an actor, it's my right to strike, and I'm not super knowledgeable about like the nitty gritty, but like, I also don't do like AAA games. I would like to, but so I don't know like what a lot of that treatment is like, but like, if a strike is authorized, that probably means that there's some legitimate gripe with it, and that means that video game companies got to pay them actors.
Yeah.
I also don't. From what I've heard, it's not going to be just actors with the video game stuff. It's going to be like a pretty big industry-wide thing.
Oh my god. Well, the bigger the better, because that's just like hopefully the bigger the impact, and the less for executives to lean on.
Yeah.
I desperately want VFX artists to unionize.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No,
Well, no, the ones that Marvel did, so I feel like it's gonna cause a tsunami.
Yeah, they really all need to, because like the fact that every fucking thing is just being passed off to VFX now, even costumes are not even like real anymore. It's just gotten out of hand.
It's gotta
They really
happen,
need to get something. Yeah.
Well, hey, you know what? On that note, still, it's a positive thing that congratulations to the WGA. They said they'd starve you. They said that they would go on
lose
without
your
you.
home.
Yeah, yeah. They made Ron Perlman delete a tweet where he threatened to kill them for saying that, and I think he wasn't out of line. Maybe FBI agent. I said maybe. They chopped down trees that provided you shade. People threw shit at you, and it was all worth it. By the sound
Drew
of it.
Barrymore threw away her career for no reason.
Oh yeah.
Oh fucking. Well, all that she was the one. She was well, she's old, but it's cute. She's not gonna do anything. Oh, what are you doing, Drew?
Right before the settlement came, and it's basically just
fair,
that scene from The Mist.
Yeah.
But to be fair, a lot of people argue that Drew having to double back just based on Backlash alone was a big step in making the deal go through.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was probably, yeah. Alright, well.
Your girl's a martyr.
Yeah. Oh well. And, God bless people who are gonna strike. I hear about, it's... Yeah, actors, keep on fighting that good fight. You'll get the same good outcome, I hope, pretty soon. And... I hear a lot of different... I think it's a lot of, food industries and...
Auto industries?
Yes, that's the one. There's big strikes going on there. So everyone, start
Speaking
those...
of Squid Game, that's relevant again.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Well, yeah, we stand in solidarity. At least I like to think so. And do you guys have any other news bulletins to bring in?
Nope.
Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, that looks fucking dope.
Rebirth trailer finally came out.
Hell yeah.
Just as
Fucking
a minor
playable
thing.
Sephiroth.
Yeah, playable Sephiroth.
That is
just
pretty
looks dope as fuck, and just as a minor side thing, we finally got to see Strega and Persona 3 Reload, and they look fucking great.
Oh, neat. Yeah. Well, I think that'll about do it for this week's West Coast Toast and Roast. I am looking at my Google TV, and there is now an Anna Kendrick wallpaper, so I'm still a fucking caricature. I'm Tommy. Oh, it just switched. It's Dua Lipa now, so nothing's changed. I'm Tommy.
And I am looking at a Discord screen of the server that we record this podcast in, and I'm Will.
And I've decided to set aside my differences with King Supers. I will not be pursuing a lawsuit, even though I probably should have just gone all in and fallen over and gotten a concussion. But if that shit ever happens at Ralph's when I'm in California, I'm getting every fucking penny from them. Because I'm diabetic and I'm deaf.
Toast and Roast viewers, you're going to get some California stories, because I'm seeing Will in October, and Dav is in November.
Yep.
Yeah, you're getting the two divorced dads experience, because flying around the holidays is a bitch for me. Oh. All right. That's a good title for the podcast, Two Divorced Dads Experience. Because we talk about my dad, too, a lot, and make fun of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, good night, everybody.